Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Awake and Activate. Today we're going to do an earlier show. This way we can kind of fit, different people's schedules, so that way we can hear more from, different areas of the world, different phenomena that are going on, and, you know, and then we can, add to what is going on and grow from what everybody is showing. Now, first, I want to start off with some announcements. Some announcements of gratitude that when I have guests on this show and I'm using OBS, I do a screen share and I can only be on them, so I miss out on a lot of wonderful things. And I want to show the gratitude to people who have super chatted the channel that have slipped by me. I have found where I can actually see that on the dashboard, and I'm going to try and keep up with this. And plus, I'm going to talk to you about some plans that I've got in the works that's going to make it easier so I can see, when you're super chatting, if there's a question, especially when different guests and things like that are going to be coming on with us, like the doctor or any guest that comes on, that the super chat questions are like highlighted in big colorful writing. So I'll be looking for adding that software where I can actually see that and then ask the question on your behalf, or then you understand. But here are some of the people that have actually slipped by that I did not know super chatted. So we've got Hebrew from Eternia, times 2, Belinda Brubaker, Biker Babe, times 3, Adian and Friends, Raleigh, Jams TV. Also, YouTube has opened up membership for me. I haven't really been promoting that, but what happens is if you decide you want to become a member, what I did was I picked the bottom tiers of each of the groups that they had listed for us to select. But you get wings next to your name, and you get special emojis, and then with the other tiers, other activities happen. Never do anything that you cannot afford. But I do want to say thank you, John Benny. He's my first channel membership. Thank you. And always, I want to thank my patrons. And without the patrons, I would not be able to afford the softwares that I am utilizing for you guys at this time, which is Photoshop and editing software. So, let me do a shout out to them real quick. We've got Amy Sampson, D-Mac, J-Mac, J Camp, Shelly, and Kate Wright. You guys have no idea what, standing behind this is community supported, but these people from Patreon are the ones that have helped pay for the monthly expenses for the Photoshop to make the different backgrounds and add images of the guests that are coming on to the thumbnails, and every little bit helps. You have no idea. In the meantime, today is our live call-in show, and we're going to try to do this every Wednesday. And now I'm going to I'm going to do a mic check on Sagi, because this is our Wednesday call-in show with Sagi and I. It may not always be Sagi. There may be other people that come on and maybe switch back and forth, because I don't ever want to dominate somebody's time. I want them to have the freedom, or if they're not feeling well or they're busy, that we can all still come together and other people can come on and be a part of the conversation. But wow, Sagi's just been such a blessing. Can you hear me, Sagi?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Now let's make sure that the chat can hear you. Let's see. I like to go on the chat room where the not on the screen. On the screen, it's all black, and the when people are typing in there, it's so teeny tiny that I can't see it. I can't read it. So at least on this, I can actually see it and read it. You guys, I want to tell you another thing. That it puts the monetization on, but if you get a commercial at the beginning, just skip it. I actually found when I was doing the research on this that the ads, they're okay. I guess YouTube, makes their money and things like that from that. But the funds that come in that are supporting the channel that, you have to get the $100 minimum, and that has come from, as I just listed off, all these wonderful people that have done super chats. That's where, it's amazing, Sagi. It's my channel has been monetized for, gosh, well over a year and a half, and I have not had a payout yet, except for here lately, and that's why I was like digging. I'm like, what's going on? And that's when I found this list of these amazing people that I thought I only had three total since it was monetized and they allowed that, but I had 10 people that's actually, supported, and I am actually finally able to pull it out. So that's awesome. That is just, you know, and so I just wanted to make sure that I expressed gratitude because, without you guys, we're going to be adding some more things here to make things better experience for everybody, better software. StreamYard, I want to be able to go ahead and pay for that, and Uber Conference, so we can set that up a little better, because we can use them for free, but very limited accessibility on what we can and cannot do. But when you start paying for all these different softwares every month, since we can't own them anymore, what do you think of that, Sagi? You remember we could go in and buy a software and own it? Now we have to rent
Yeah,
them.
I do. I feel like I'm going to need to rent a tux just to come on the show.
Oh, come on. Well, the I like to use the OBS software for call-in shows because when you guys call, the phone call comes through so crystal clear. How is Sagi's sound to you guys? Do you hear him really good?
Am I coming in loud and clear?
You are for me. Yes,
Okay.
Sagi sounds a lot better this week. Oh, great. So we did have a sound hiccup. The sound hiccup was not his fault. What he was doing, it gets hard to hold a device up to your ear, and use that push to talk. And that's what he was using was his cell phone. So he tried to put it on speaker and lay it down. But what that caused was a reverb of whatever I was saying back in. So whenever I talked, it reverbed back through his sound system back into his microphone. So he's gotten
And
earbuds.
what, what was so crazy was we didn't even realize how bad our audio was until after the fact. We did the whole show that way.
Right. And yeah, we had no clue. And when and I prefer him to be in the conference room with me where he can see what's going on and see when callers come in, and have some authority there, like if somebody comes in and unmutes themselves, for him to be able to hang up, because if they're coming in and they're automatically unmuting, well, they may not have something really nice to say. They may just want to be an interruption. So that is one of the things I ask. Just stay muted because you're going to be taken in the order the calls come in, and we will get to everybody. And when we have, with Uber Conference, we can hold up to what, 5 callers in there at a time on hold. Gives you time to mute the show, and you don't miss anything because you hear everything that's going on. So, yeah, I popped the phone number up right from the gate go so people can see that and call in and use the pin and, to share what they've got going on. Now, last night on the Hebrews channel, we were talking about some things that I encountered on Mother's Day. And I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys here, because sometimes people don't go over there, or, different audience, different time. Well, on Mother's Day, my parents actually drove all the way up to our house, which was wonderful. We spent the day out in the backyard. Now, my parents, they're up there in age, and they've been really concerned about the social distancing. They wear their masks, their gloves, sanitizing everything. Just really nervous about everything that they've heard. And actually, I was supposed to go to my mom's for a couple weeks right before this all broke out. And then I said, well, am I still allowed to come? And she said, no, I'm not opening the door for you. I said, I've got a key. And she goes, I'll push it shut on you. I was like, oh my gosh. So that's how scared they were. I mean, they were terrified. Well, they came up, and then as they were, visiting up here, we got hugs. They hugged. Then my mom reached out, started, she gave me a nice kiss. We're a hugging bunch. We've always been huggers. We're just, so the social distancing on huggers is really difficult. But they have not, been hugging others, and especially they haven't seen me in a few months. So, but we were hugging, and then my son showed up, and then they were hugging on him. Then we went swimming, and my mom was sticking her feet in the pool, and they had such a wonderful time that the next day she gave me a call and said that they want to come up and they're going to spend a few days here in our home, go swimming, go out to eat, and just enjoy each other's company. And that was really shocking that she's feeling a little more safe, a little more secure, which is going to help build back anything that's been depleted from sheltering in place. And another thing was she was Mandela'd. Now, we moved to an area in California in 1979, and there was actually 2 cities. Like, if you crossed the street, you were in Alta Loma, and then on the other side of the street, you were in Cucamonga. Okay. I went to high school. I graduated in 1986 from Alta Loma High School, named after the city it was located in. Well, I told her that my friend that I went and visited on February 29th lived further up the hill than my sister's husband's parents. And they were definitely Alta Loma, because when they did the wedding invitations and stuff, it was an Alta Loma address and also directions to get to their home. And the church was in Alta Loma. Okay. So we knew that it was Alta Loma. Well, when she looked it up, because she's like, no, that's not possible, Michelle. No. Well, come to find out, from 1977, Alta Loma did not exist. It was all Rancho Cucamonga. And my mom's eyes got as big as saucers, because we didn't move out there until 79. And we definitely knew that it was Alta Loma. Alta Loma existed in 79. It existed in 86 when I graduated. And it also existed in 89 when my sister got married. So, there was a little Emmy action going on. And then we actually seen the skies. We were looking at the skies. And they always called them contrails. And I said, wait a minute. A contrail is going to be condensation I've seen them all my life, living near Ontario Airport. It's not that far. There's no way they can go from one end of the sky to as far as you can see to the other end with condensation. So they stood up and looked, and my dad looked first, and he was shaking his head. He's like, "That's right. That's right." And then we actually got to see a plane make a condensation trail. It was almost like it was perfectly put in place just to show them, just to, bring their awareness to it. And then, you know, everybody wakes up in their own time with their own process, and I don't want to push, anybody into, you know, relinquishing their sovereignty, their rights to waking up, and their rights to life and freedom, and So I know that they peek in on us over here. I know that they watch John. They may be listening to us now, Sagi. So my parents are probably in the background listening. Just an FYI. But they were able to see from all the way across the sky. There was at least 3 or 4 of them that were up there, and then we were talking about the solar minimum, about global warming, and that what's put out there for us. And that's a good way to start is, they're trying to reflect the sun rays, from the global warming, which, they call it a solar minimal. It's so opposite. It's like, wouldn't you call that a solar maximum, when it's like super duper hot, Saggy? I mean, solar minimum is like, what? What do you mean solar minimum? But they got to recognize those. They got to recognize those, and then they came into agreement that they seen them. They observed these things and there was no fear. There was hugging and loving, and my mom was kicking her feet in the pool. She loved that it was heated. She could get in there and do exercises and things like that. So now they're going to come and they're going to stay with us for a few days, and we will definitely enjoy that time. So, anyways, that was my, amazing Mother's Day. I had an amazing Mother's Day. My son, gave me some chocolates, and I'm not much of a sweet eater, but this brand of chocolates, which I've never seen before, were delicious, and the entire box is about gone already. Oops. Anyways. Are you there, Sag? Let me take a breath and give you a chance to speak until we get someone to call.
Oh yeah, I'm still here. I mean, doing your show is so easy. I just mostly just listen to you.
Well, no.
I'm just teasing.
Oh, you were the main spokesman. I think Hebrew and I were guests on his show last night. We were just rolling with you, Saji. You were on a roll. And you didn't like my share. I was like, what?
Well, honestly, I enjoyed it tremendously. Somehow something got lost in translation where you felt that I was dumbing it down for some reason. But however, it was quite the opposite.
No, you said, hey, Hebrew, pause that. There's only so much of that speed talking that I can handle. You're scrambling my brain.
Oh, it was the speed talking. Yeah, that was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I hate the speed talking.
Well, it was a long share, and, I think he was trying to speed talk over the other guy that was making commentary on it. But as for that specific, those specific videos, they're going, they're viral just about, and actually changing his speed to the 1.25, he was okay. And that guy's not looking to put copyright strikes on people. He wants his message out. So, and it's an amazing message, and I think it could bring a lot of peace to people to know that the police officers themselves are thinking about these things.
Yeah, when I asked them to pause it, I assumed we would go back and finish it after we talked for a minute, but we never did go back and finish it, did we?
No, no. I was just surprised that that Hebrew wasn't on the list. There was about 12 of us that Suso forwarded that to. So, I was a little shocked that Suso didn't have it already. So, I wanted to make sure that he got it, but I knew that it wouldn't be an infringement on him by sharing it, and allowing the people that come over and enjoy his platform to see something positive, see something good coming out. They put on the television, the media, all of this violence and corruption, but that's not what the heart of the officer, what the heart and his oath, doctors take and that officers take and military, actually, I was going to say officers, but anybody that goes into the military, the oaths that they take very serious, and it's an oath to protect the Constitution from both foreign and domestic. So if laws are made that are against the Constitution, well, then they're not to be enforced. And that's what I liked about this officer's message. He's like, I'm not going to trample on other people's constitutional rights. He doesn't want anybody trampling on his. And it was a
Well,
good
of course, yeah.
message, yeah.
Yes, it was, and I agree. I enjoyed it. I had already seen that video. I had stumbled across it on a different channel. Like you said, it's floating around the internet. It has went viral, and a lot of people are sharing it, and for good reason. Um, I think that it's one of those things where you would hope that the police officer, at least has a basic understanding of the Constitution and a basic understanding of the oath that they took when they, graduated from police academy or whatever. But you also, I'm sure for every good, just like anything else, you're going to have good ones and bad ones, more socially conscious and aware ones, and some that aren't so much. So he was definitely an example of the kind of policeman you would hope would show up at your on your at your door if you called 911.
Right, right. And yesterday when I got out and about, because I had to go see my doctor, and then I had to go to the grocery store, well, the pharmacy, to drop off whatever I needed to drop off. And, my doctor asked me, he says, when you get out and about, what are you seeing out there? What are you experiencing? And, with my disability and stuff, been mainly trying to build my strength back up with swimming and stuff, and I am more active now, and I'm walking more and stuff. But I have to say that when I went out yesterday and went into the grocery store, the people that worked there that like would give you a cart, they had the masks on, right? I did not,
Yep.
but I walked straight through and they didn't say anything to me. Now there was some people with the masks on, but I didn't see a lot of that. You know what's really funny, Saji, is when I was standing there waiting to just turn in the papers that the doctor gave me, the prescriptions. I turn them
Uh-huh.
in early, and then they can call me whenever they're ready. The lady that's behind the pharmacist that's behind the counter, she had a mask, right? And then I looked up at her again, and it was off. It was down. It was like, oh, okay, all right. So it's not going to upset her. I'm taking this uncomfortable thing off, and she did. And so then I handed her what I needed to, and I don't care if you want to wear a mask. I'm not going to encroach on your sovereignty. But I don't want somebody to encroach on mine either. I don't want to breathe carbon monoxide. I want to breathe freely. I don't want to wear gloves, and I don't want to cause my skin to dry out from all the hand sanitizers and stuff. Of course, we wash our hands and keep proper hygiene. That's just all of us now. I mean, it's not anything special. That's normal. But when you're overdoing it, we're actually lowering our immune system. And I have spoke to Hebrew that my doctor will may make an appearance, but I've got to keep his information. And I also seen in chat that people would like to hear from him. I have one interview with him already on my channel, and but we're gonna do another one. But on this hot potato topic, the doctors, their stuff is yanked down fast with a lot of retribution. Now the officers being asked to take his down, they're they're since it picked up such momentum, they are putting out, well, if you don't take it down or else, I mean, they're actually doing things to this man. But I think when it's all said and done and the dust clears, he's a good officer. And that's part of testing to get to even become an officer. You go to the school, and that's part of the test on the laws and the Constitution to even get a badge. So I'm sure he'll be reinstated. But until then, I guess he's got a GoFundMe going to try and keep, his children taken care of. But as for doctors, I mean, they're just literally throwing them under the bus. So we'll have to be very, very diligent on keeping his information, his source information, very confidential. As long as you guys understand, that he'll come on, but you're not going to know who he is. But you'll be able to tell by the way he talks. I am not a doctor, and I tell you, just from the language that he uses, you'll know. You'll be able to tell that he is an actual practicing physician. And I want to talk about how people can build their immune systems back up, and the best way when this starts to lift for people to integrate and not have a backlash. So that is coming soon. So look forward to that, guys. And I don't know if I'll get him live or if Hebrew and I will just interview him and then do it as a premiere. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So anyway, so yeah, with the Trace app that you were showing and sharing last night, some measures being taken. You want to, broaden out on that a little bit while we wait for some. You guys, even though Sagi and I are talking, please call if you've got something to share. Want to share what's going on around you?
Did you put up? Do you have the call-in number on the line?
Yeah,
you do. Okay.
It's up, sweetie. Yeah. So if you can call because of Hebrew, or not Hebrew. Hebrew, I got Hebrew on the brain. Because of Sagi is here with me. So, it's just so we can discuss, but then when a call comes in, you're going to take center stage. So what you've got going on around you, any new Mandela effects, any spiritual experiences, awakenings, witnessing to awakenings, testimonials, feel free to call. But in the meantime, you want to share a little bit about the tracer technology that you were sharing last night?
Well, basically, make a long story short, they've already implemented it in the other countries. I don't have the article up in front of me. I'm sorry, but
that's okay.
Make a long story short, it's track and trace, and they're actually hiring people all across the country right now to start doing it, and they're developing an app that will help manage the information. And basically what they're trying to do is create an app and hire people that will essentially be able, with the combination of both, they'll be able to keep track of anybody that you come in contact with via the apps on people's cell phones. Obviously, if you don't have a cell phone on your person, then the app isn't going to work. But basically what it does is whenever you are out and about, it's interacting with other people's cell phones to share data as to who you're within a close proximity to. So then later, after the fact, if somebody was to test positive for COVID, then the app would essentially be able to retrospectively go back um, and find out. Let's say you were on the bus and somebody on the bus later that afternoon tested positive for COVID. Then you would get an alert on your app that would show that you have possibly been exposed. And not only that, but the color, the color of the there would be a color, like a warning signal that would change colors, color coded warning signal. And if you can't show on your app that you are green, that you haven't been, that you're still green, like say it, when you get the notification that you may have been exposed, your color is going to change to like either yellow or red, depending on the severity of the exposure. And if you're yellow or red, then you might not be allowed into certain places because now you are potentially somebody who has been exposed. So basically, it's a app that they're working on developing to be able to better stop the spread of the coronavirus, quote unquote. However, it's also a huge infringement on our privacy and our ability to be out and about and move about freely. It could potentially restrict our ability to go into certain public facilities, certain public places, and I don't know. I think it's kind of controversial.
Yeah, I want to know how they're going to try and pull off that maneuver with we all have the right to privacy with our medical. You have to actually sign a release for them to transfer, and you can date it on or tell them what limited medical information. Like if your doctor wants to send you to a specialist, you don't want all your records going over there. You only want a certain portion, so then you only give them permission for that, and you have to sign. So then they get that information, and that's all they get. And that's between medical professionals. That's not, let alone a an app, and they're training and hiring people, and these people, confidentiality agreements. I mean, no. And also, how are they going to know? Because of the way that they're doing it is, remember when AIDS came out and people were able to go and get an AIDS test done, and actually what you got was they drew your blood and then they gave you a ticket, and the ticket had a number. They didn't even ask you your name or anything. So on where they drew the blood had one part with that serial number on it, and you had the other part. No names were given, no nothing. And then you would go back in a couple weeks with your ticket thing, and then they would look up and tell you if you were HIV positive, or if you got, which then can lead to full-blown AIDS, or things like that. But those were all done without giving any personal information. So how are they going to know which phone is contaminated with the COVID? Is it the phone that's contaminated, or is it the person? And I think that would be too
Basically,
much.
they're just saying that they're not saying you're necessarily contaminated. They're saying that you're at risk of exposure, that you were in close proximity of somebody who has recently tested positive. That's basically all the information is.
Okay, Armor says, okay,
And they're
if you download the app, you agree to share your
I don't believe
info.
they're getting into all your medical records or anything like that. I don't remember reading anything about as far as any HIPAA laws or anything of that nature. It's basically just a tool to let you know if you were around somebody who had recently tested positive, or after shortly after being around you, they eventually end up testing positive. I would say if it's a month later, it would be kind of a moot point. But if it was later that same day or the following day they tested positive, you may want to, and you get an alert on your phone, the quarantine. I guess I would want to know, but I just don't like that the fact of somebody keeping track of where my whereabouts at any at any given moment.
Well, Armor Up said this, and this is what I agree with. It. He's talking exactly like you have to give permission. If you download the app, you agree to share your information, so no violation. So if you are, agree to download the app and you test positive, then I guess if you want to put it in that app that you tested positive for it, then I guess you have that right. Just like signing over medical records to go to, you need to go to a specialist for a certain purpose. You're signing over to have certain records transferred over to the doctor to, for your care. So you
Yeah.
are, in a sense, giving permission. How many people do you think will?
It's assuming that everybody wants to participate.
Right.
That's the presumption. Yeah.
Right. Just like, this has the stay in place, the shelter in place, has always, and it has not changed. It's always been voluntary. I don't know why some areas have gotten really tyrannical with, giving citations and not allowing people out of their homes, when in the very beginning it was a recommendation, a suggestion. They never said everybody's in house arrest. They never said that, and they have never changed that. So the only thing that I see is when the people got scared and the more that they saw, they started asking legislation, their local governing bodies, for more draconian measures because they were so scared of catching
Well,
something.
yeah, especially when they started telling everybody, unless you're an essential worker, you no longer have a job.
Yeah, and see, or
Until-
you can't
until
be on the
further notice.
streets, right? You had to have, some people actually have to have
Yeah, or no,
papers.
I mean, like, let's say you work at a software company, okay, that makes software, and you show up on Monday and there's nobody there. There's no way to clock in and go do your work because the office is closed.
Right. And most of those kind of companies where they're designing software or things like that, they've got a desk in between them and a computer. So actually, they pretty much are about 6 foot apart, so they can do their work. So, yeah. But I've heard from some people that this one lady I know, she works in a hotel, and that she actually had to have papers saying she's an essential worker, and she has to show them if she's pulled over on why she's on the road. But it, like I said, from the very beginning, it was always, from the federal side. I'm not talking, states have the right to govern, okay, and they will go by what their people are asking for. But from the federal side, it was always a suggestion. It was not lock yourself in your homes. All of these were recommendations. They weren't supposed to take this weird twist. But when you scare people bad enough, they will, if you have a compromised immune system or something else going on, if you watch some of that stuff they're putting out there, it will scare the bejeebers out of you. Especially the numbers that they were saying, and the ventilators and all these things that we were going to need, that at the very beginning the numbers were terrifying. I mean, they could terrify
I think the
anybody.
original estimate was 2 million
In America alone. I think it was higher than that.
Yeah, there could be as many as 2 million Americans that were going to die in that original, the original prognosis that came out off the models that they were using.
Yeah, that tabletop simulation. And I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
now that the numbers are actually coming in, they're finding out that of the people that would have like the symptoms, let's say, I think it was 3,200 people had symptoms, okay, and got tested. Of that 3,200, 300, and I think it was 317 of them actually had it, but then they had to put in that there's false positives that come out. So I think that was 2.9% of false positives. So they had to deduct it by that. And then they also said that 93% of that 300 minus the 2.9% recovered. They had symptoms, their body fought it, and they recovered, full recovery, rather quickly. And it's like 0.03% mortality rate. So, when we were looking at, what were they saying before? Like 5%?
I get lost when people start throwing out those specific numbers. All I know for sure is that it's nowhere close to what they originally projected. And even the numbers that they're providing us, on a daily basis, they're constantly changing and updating, and it's so obvious that they're cooking the books. I mean, it's almost irrelevant to even try to pay attention to the numbers, because I believe that they're so falsified anyway that it really doesn't make any sense. But bottom line is, we all know that it's nowhere near what they originally told us it was going to be when they told us all we all need to stay home, and that's basically what it all boils down to as far as I'm concerned.
And if you are symptomatic, even if it's flu, stay home. We should stay home when we have the flu. That's what your doctor's going to tell you. Drink chicken noodle soup.
I don't want to be that guy that shows up at work, with a low grade fever to make everybody else sick,
Not only that, when you have a fever, you have a headache, you just feel like crap. You just want to lay in your bed. You don't want to be messed with, The best way to get information, and this is from me to you, is to ask your own doctor. That's where I got my best information. I just asked him, how many have you seen? Because he's got both sides of that building. He's got the 4 doctors on the other side, and then their support staff, and then he's got his side. I said, how many positives do you have? And he says they haven't had any. None. And they weren't wearing masks and stuff. Now, he's got a separate side for his patients. It's a program that he's in, and it's absolutely wonderful, especially for people my age. I get a full-blown physical, something
people
I
your
wouldn't
age,
get.
Well, I didn't realize you were an AARP member.
No, and that's the problem. I'm not. The physical that I get like what they would give to 65-year-old people, the full-blown, all the blood work up. Even actually, we get more than that. He looks into everything.
I thought you were like in your mid-20s, early 30s.
Oh, well, come on. Let's be realistic. I think I'm closer to Armour's age than that age.
Oh, so you were in the war.
I lived through some wars. Yeah.
Okay.
I would be a Vietnam baby. Oh, I was talking to my mom. I'm sorry about getting a late start, guys, but I was talking to my mom, and I brought up what Raul shared with us about what's going to happen 9 months from now. It's gonna and she got it.
Babies are born?
Yeah, she got it quick. She goes, well, it's not going to be baby boomers. It's going to be COVID baby boom. Lots of babies coming, guys. So if it's the agenda to depopulate, yeah, wait and see.
Right.
We're gonna have lots of new babies. I love babies. I'm gonna do a quick shout out to the room. Guys, somebody call in and talk to Sagi and I. Okay, let me go up. So we got Go-Kart Bob. We got Hebro from Eternia. Remember, guys, he's got a Taco Tuesday show. He's got a Shifty Sunday show. And I think a Thirsty Thursday show. The Conscious Evolution. Kevin T. Janice Ellis. Oh, hey, we got Voynich. He's the bomb. He also goes and does live streams in several languages. He's amazing. Kate Wright. I hope you are here to hear my thank you and gratitude to you, Miss Kate Wright.
Armour says their depopulation plan may have backfired with all these babies that are about to be born.
Exactly. And then we got Preliminal. Um, we've got angelfish, of course, armor up. I don't know if I already said armor up, but I probably did. Oh, Lee. Oh, I'm sorry. Distant Integral. Oh my gosh. He's got a channel too, and he's a sky watcher, and you know how I love sky watchers. Everybody knows how I love sky watchers. But now he's also not only doing sky watching, but he's doing interview guests and also wisdom drops where he actually is talking about all of the growth and things that he's learned along his journey. And wow, I mean, just an amazing. It's everybody in here that I listed off. Everybody has such uh, amazing testimonies, amazing stories, amazing experiences. So pick
We do
up
have a very
the phone.
elite chat room in here, don't we?
Yeah, yeah. And gosh, I love everybody. I did share it on Facebook. I just didn't share it a whole lot. I put it on Twitter, but I'm not too good about about sharing them like I need to. I'll get better at it. I will over time. Just give me time. But with this group, Sagi, like you said, I mean, we've got multiple angles, multiple testimonies, multiple experiences. Call you guys and share. There's no judgment here. Nobody can take away your experience. They can't. Once it's happened and you've experienced it, nobody can ever remove that from your life. It's your testimony. It's your experience. But by sharing them with one another, it brings peace to others that may have similar things going on, that may stumble across this and say, "Hey, I get that. I'm going through that too," and they resonate with it. So that's why I think it's so important that we share what we know and listen so we can grow. It's amazing. Oh yeah, Disintegral is on the other side of the pond, and so is Voynich. And John, that was on the other day, is from Scotland. So we represent different areas of the world also, which is awesome. Awesome sauce.
Now, if we could just get one of those awesome people to call in.
Yeah, and when I get to the point where I can afford I think the Uber conference will be the first one, because I don't know, unless they call from their computer, about long distance or how it works. I know our country code is 1, so you put a 1 in front of the 720 before you call, and then you should be able to get through no problem. But I'll find out all of that stuff when I'm able to afford the software, because I want people to call and it be free, just like StreamYard.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't pay to call a YouTube channel. That'd be like calling a 900 number or something. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
No, I think in a lot of you can call if you've got Uber conference. You can go into your Uber conference and use your dial pad and just call the number and the pin and get in. So they used to do that on Google. I don't know if we could still make phone calls on Google, but we used to be able to. But they've changed, they've tweaked things, and they changed constantly in motion. We're constantly flowing and changing and moving. So we got to keep up. I'm sure
yeah, for sure.
I'm sure there's going to be things that you're going to be able to help me with, and that Hebrew will be able to help me with StreamYard. Because when the doctor comes on, I'm going to have him going on StreamYard. So with backgrounds, and there's so much more to do on there, and it's really easy. And I won't neglect all of you amazing people that have, it doesn't matter if it's 99 cents, to whatever, everything is appreciated, and you should be acknowledged for it. And I feel bad that it took me this long to find that. So if you missed it in the very beginning, I did list out the gratitude for everybody that that makes this go on. I mean, it just really keeps the show going.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed you put on the header or whatever before the show started the new normal. I mean, that really does seem to be the catchphrase that the buzzword that is really going around right now, because everybody's curious what when all this stuff settles, how much of the old normal are we going to get back versus not. I don't know. I mean, it's really going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. I really do think that people are just so just hand over in the name of fear, in the name of insecurity. They're just so willing to hand over, rights and privacy concerns. And I mean, it just seems like people are just. I just can't believe it. It's almost as if people don't realize how important and vital and then unique our country is, in the sense that we have all these social liberties, all these rights to freedom of speech, of assembly, these are important things that kind of distinguish us from a lot of other places on earth. And it just really does, it really almost feels like there is just the appreciation value for it. It seems like there's a huge part of our population that just doesn't really seem to realize the value and worth that all of that encompasses. Am I making sense here?
Yes, you are.
And it just kind of worries me
biblical.
That we're never going to, be able to hold on. There's going to be certain things we're not going to be able to hold on to, in certain aspects of our old way of life that we're never going to get back. And that really does truly concern me. It really does.
And that's what it says in the Bible is when they say peace and safety, wham, sudden destruction falls upon them. Now, the Bible has wisdom in it. There's a lot in there that is very powerful information. And you're right. How much are you going to forfeit of your sovereignty, your freedoms, your liberty, your rights to be, your rights to create, your very freedoms, your foundational freedoms that this country was founded on, in the name of what its alleged peace and safety? How much are you willing to give up? And Dan said something really interesting the other night, which is all it takes for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing. Now, we were talking about God, and we were talking about different things. Well, when we were created, the one thing that we were given is free will. So we have the right to choose. All right, but I also feel there's nothing outside of God. Everything is created by God, for God, and we love God because God loved us first. And then we want to draw close because of that. That love is beyond comprehension. When you feel that love from the Creator, the Almighty, there's nothing like it. And then you start to look around and you see the fingerprints all over the place. But He didn't want a bunch of automatons. He wants us to experience. He wants to, He wants us to have free will. That was a gift that was given to us. When other people use their free will to encroach themselves over and control other people's free will, that's where I see that we have a problem. And I'm just going to do one more thing, with Christ, share one more thing, and then because I'm not trying to make this into a religious channel by no means, but just some of the things that are said really are very, very significant, and they really have a real powerful meaning. And he said to love your enemies as yourself. Well, if you're loving your enemies and you're loving your neighbors, then you don't have any enemies. You see that we are all one family. We're unique expressions, and we do have free will, but how we use it, somebody could be like an enemy towards you because they're encroaching on your sovereignty. Well, use your free will to get up and walk away. Walk away from all that. You have the right to be and live and create and experience and grow and expand. And so, but that's as far as I'm going to go on, things that I think about when I'm praying and things like that. It sounds like we've got a call, Sagi. Did you see anybody pop in? Okay, we've got Albany. You are live on Awake and Activate.
Hello?
Hello. What's your name and how are you doing?
This Michelle?
Michelle and Sagi. Yes, it is.
Michelle, I think you're so beautiful.
And now I'm very red. You just embarrassed me. Well,
I'm 15 years. I watch your show. I think you're so beautiful. I wanted to call and tell you I love you.
I love you too. And what was your name?
Go-kart Bob.
I do love you. I got to meet you in person. You didn't sound like a child, by the way. Nice try. Did you try to say you were 15 years old?
I was trying to disguise my voice before I called.
Well, you did a good job of that. I didn't know it was you. So, touche. You're such a doll.
Yeah, you had me wondering if this call was going to go north or south.
Yeah, I was about to say it. Sagi, what do you have to say?
Oh, it's finally nice to get to hear Go-Kart Bob's voice. I mean, I've seen him in chat so many times, and now we actually got him live on the line. That's awesome.
Yes. What do you have to share with us? I know you've got some goods.
Well, no, not really. All I'm doing, I was going to tell you about, I'm just fixing my house. I'm just being a Mr. Fix-It today.
Okay, you're being productive.
Yeah, I fixed some plumbing, and I fixed the light that was broken, but as far as the virus stuff goes, I was going to mention about how many people, in my town, it's pretty mild. People aren't really concerned about it. There's a few people wearing masks, but not a lot. And,
That's
what
what
part of the country are you in, Go-Kart?
Pardon?
What state are you in?
Oregon.
Oregon, okay.
Beautiful
Albany,
Oregon.
that's right.
Oregon
and there hasn't
gorgeous.
been that many cases up here. I don't know. I think less than 1,000 or something.
Yeah, but there's when we were driving up to meet up, going through Oregon, it was so green. There were mountains, and you know how people say, "Oh, you can't see the forest through the trees." No, in Oregon you can, because the forest goes straight up the side of the mountain, and you can see all the forests, the trees. It's gorgeous. I wonder if it has something to do with the greenery, the plants, put out the oxygen, and we put out the
like
carbon monoxide, and they kind of clean it. What do you think?
Yeah, because it filters the air better or something.
Yeah. It's gorgeous in
maybe.
Oregon. It's beautiful. And you have a coastline. So you have a beach. You got beautiful mountains.
Oh yeah, right.
Um,
Where I live, I'm an hour from Portland. I'm an hour to the mountains. I'm an hour to the coast. So yeah, it's a great location where I'm at.
so you're not
It
seeing a
sounds
lot of
like it.
people with masks and stuff going on. That's just not
But
not happening in.
yeah, there's some. What I was gonna say is there. I've gone to the store. I've been staying home and just avoiding as much as I can. Um, but I still got to go to the store once in a while. And they do have it marked off, like 6 feet back. You're supposed to stay away, you know. But what I'm saying is nobody follows the rules, even though there's a
Oh,
line
really?
there. Yeah, people just pass it. I go to Costco, or it's called Winco, and lots of people, they just pass you right in the aisle, in the checkout aisle. They don't care. They're not concerned. And I had one guy just push my cart aside. I almost got in 2 fights, is what I'm saying.
Oh, wow. Is it just the general consensus of everybody there just doesn't want to participate, or is it just like
Yeah.
like you got
Yeah.
like some that are and some that aren't?
Exactly. Most aren't. It's like most people are so annoyed by it, and everybody's grumpy, and and they're just pushing their way around. And like if you got a mask on, and I did wear a mask twice because I had a cold. And I've had a cold for a month, and it's like I got over it, but then it kind of came back about a week ago. I was all done, and now I kind of got it again a little bit, but it's not as bad. But it makes me wonder because I smoke and stuff. But anyways, it's this one guy was wearing a military hat. He's an older guy, probably a veteran or something, and he just pushed my cart aside with his cart and told me to get out of his way. And I said, "Sir, you're supposed to stay back 6 feet." And he just wasn't going to, go along with that at all. And so it makes me wonder, if things really did get bad, how many people would really, go along with it, or how many people are just going to say, "I don't care."
And how much longer are people going to be willing to submit? Because even the ones that are currently submitting, they probably only, they're probably. I mean, I would say that sooner or later anybody's going to start to feel a little unrest. You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
How were you at on all this? I mean,
Cabin fever.
Do you feel like they're prolonging it, or the measures are necessary? I mean, when you go out, how do you feel confident that you're not going to be exposed, or do you have real concerns that it's a possibility?
Yeah, I'd say my concerns are light because most of it seems like misinformation. Like the information isn't real clear on why all this stuff is going on. I think, like
yeah,
I said,
agree.
Armor's channel, I said it's like a knee-jerk reaction to all of it. But it's pissed a lot of people off because, like that one guy, he's probably out of work, he has no income, that's why he's so grumpy. But rightfully so, but you can't take it out on people in the grocery line.
Yeah, I agree.
Aren't the
And there's a
carts
lot
are
of
pretty
people
much
who,
6 foot long, though. I mean, really, if you got a cart in front of you, which is pretty much standard when you're in a grocery store, that's about 6 foot apart, anyways. And so we've pretty much already did that before all this started happening. You know what I mean? If you got, unless you're going through an express lane and you're just carrying one of those little handheld carts, a basket itself is, that's a good amount of distance between you and the person in front of you.
Yeah, and another indicator I was going to say is the traffic here is seems pretty normal. It always has been. It might be a little bit lighter, but people are still going about their business, and you know, what business is there? Like fast food stuff, but you know, a lot of
Yeah, I was
stores.
seeing reports today in L.A. There were lines an hour and a half long for drive-throughs.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
and
that
then
I could wait so long for a cheeseburger and fries.
yeah, exactly. At Winco, they were only letting so many people in, right? You know, so you go to the store and you have to wait outside, and there'd be a small line, maybe 20 people. You know, 10 to 20 people. One time I went there, there was 25. I said, "Oh, I'll come back later." But they quit doing that. So now you can just go there. There's no line. They, letting people in, as many as there is.
Wow.
But it's like they're lightening up, and I don't know. I heard that they were going to let businesses open again.
Yeah. In my county, they've already started the process. They're doing it like a county by county. Finally, okay, I don't know if you remember, but Trump wanted before Easter to get things back rolling again because he understands, he's a businessman, right? So he understands the longer that this goes with no production, the harder it's going to be, or a longer period it's going to take to recover. So he was talking about before Easter, let's get some things rolling here. And then it was the people that were still, in fear, and then that propaganda and stuff that's going out. But I have to say, when I went to my doctor last month, there wasn't hardly anybody on the road. Now, this time when I went, I was like, oh, man. There was one perk to it, and that was the no traffic. Now people are back out on the streets again. So I was like, oh, well, at least people are getting out. I mean, I'm happy that people are getting out and doing what they need to do. But yeah, the no traffic was pretty awesome. And my dad found an interesting article, Bob, I think you'll like this, that the earth, the earthquakes and the vibration of the earth is actually quieted down since people are not out driving on the highways and all of this activity 24/7, that the shaking of the vibration of the earth had actually slowed. So the earth is able to, heal itself. Like the area where you live in is gorgeous, okay? I have a really gorgeous area where I'm at also, but it does get very hot in the deserty area. But I can be up in the mountains within an hour, or at the beach in a couple hours. I've got that blessing just like you do. But with this all slowing down and not putting out all of those emissions from cars, the plants then started to green up or bloom more. So now they're producing more oxygen. So it's allowing, things to grow better and heal. Maybe it has a ripple effect that we're not seeing. We're just seeing that this is inconvenient and people, are being told to stay at home. But maybe something amazing will come out of this. You know what I mean? I know that you live in the center of Beautyville, but just imagine more places looking like Oregon.
Yeah, and it's starting to look like the worst is over. Like we're over the hump and things are going to start getting better.
Yeah, have you been turned away from a store or anything for not having a mask? Have you had
No.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
Yeah, and I caught some of that stuff you were talking about, the phone app, about tracking people that, are infected.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, I got an old Obama phone. I don't have a smartphone.
Nice. Good
but
job.
yeah, the app won't work on my phone.
Good old flip phones. Well, I think when he brought it up last night that he said that Apple is not wanting, they're not wanting to make it a mandatory app that shows up on the screen. You'd have to download it if you wanted it on an Apple device. But on Apple devices, you can turn off your locator. Now you can't you can't put in an address and get a map, from where you're at to where you want to go to. But I don't want
Right.
my locator on. They don't need to know where I'm at and what I'm doing 24/7. And my medical is private and confidential, and it's always been that way. So I don't know how this would work. It would be voluntary, but I just don't know how it would work. Who's going to sit there and come up positive and put it in their app? I'm positive. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. That's what I was thinking when you guys were talking.
Yeah. I can see a lot. And also, who's got control of this data? How do we know that your personal private information isn't going to spill out into the general population, giving your name, address, phone number, and people that are
Right.
so too scared to think
Be-
for themselves, doing irrational behavior. I don't know. It's just
Right. They'll get marked like a sex offender,
right.
where people can look it up in the app and go. Somebody showed me that in my neighborhood, and I was going like, there's like 15 houses within several blocks, all the sex offenders.
But they don't give you their exact addresses and names and stuff. But somebody knows them. So I get what you're
No, they
saying.
where they're at. They tell you what the house, the location, and
Really?
and yeah.
Tells you how much I pay attention to that kind of stuff. Because
Well, somebody showed it to me, showed me that, so I was going, yeah, that's amazing information.
they lost my vote on that when, let's say you were a 17-year-old, okay? And you're dating a 16 or a 15-year-old. And then you turned 18, and then their parents just press charges on you. And now you've got to register for life as this. And see, that lost me right there. When now if you're messing with a child, now I think they should register those kind of people. But there's certain
Yeah.
degrees,
Right. That's the problem with the law when it's not real clear and they don't have good definition. And then kids can get charged. Some 18-year-old going out with a 16-year-old. I was going, well, hell, my mom got pregnant when she was 16, so it was normal back in the day.
Right.
Today, my dad would be in jail today.
And it's it's pretty normal that your husband or your spouse is a few years older than you. So it's not like in a couple years that they're not going to be married or have plans of marriage. So some of the things just were taken out of control, and it's just so I just didn't worry about that stuff because it doesn't say what they did. You know what I mean? It just puts them under this one umbrella. You have to register forever, and it's like, what? I think maybe a certain amount of time, and then let it
And so
drop.
what about the virus? Now, let's say you got it, and there's some app that says, oh, okay, guy lives at this house, at this address. But you get over it, you live through it, you survive, and you're no longer positive. So how long does the stay active on the app,
Right.
Oh
Right.
yeah, not to mention the fact that once they have the quote unquote vaccine, they're going to want to know who's already either had the virus and recovered, or if you had the vaccine, because there's going to be certain places where they want, before they even let you have a job, maybe a certain job, or to even to get on an airplane, they're going to want to know your status Have you been exposed either by the vaccine or by having already caught it? You will probably have to have some form of card that states your current status. Like, no, I've never had the virus and I haven't been vaccinated yet, or or yes, I have had it, but since I already had it, there's no need for me to take the vaccine. I mean, I really do see. I think at some point it's going to come down to you'll need to show a certain type of ID, or
Right.
not even. I don't even know if it'll be an ID, but it'll be some type of certificate that states your status as to where you are and your ability to go places.
Right. They could make the vaccine mandatory.
Yeah, they can't make it mandatory just in general, but they can make it mandatory if you want to do anything. If you just want to sit at home and not, and be a peon in society and have no social, placement, yeah, you don't have to take it. But as soon as you want to send your kids to school, they're going to insist that they have it before the first day of school. Well,
Yeah.
that's a given. If you get a new job, the employer may insist that you get it before they hire you. I mean,
Right.
I can really, if you want to get on a Medicare or any type of welfare, they may require it.
Yeah. Which is pretty much my situation.
I am not
Oh,
going to
no,
allow
this-
anybody to inject me with a virus. I don't even like to. I don't do the annual flu shots because they're injecting you with a virus. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I've never gotten flu shots. I've had a pretty thick medical history the last 5 years from a heart surgery, so I got a lot of big file. But
Yeah, but you know what? You have a beautiful heart. Even if it was broken, it's now fixed, and you have a beautiful heart.
yeah, it's just got a little crack in it.
Just a little crack. Mine's a little broken too,
Well,
but it's working on it.
I would rather have one that's slightly damaged than one that's never been through anything at all. So.
This is
Oh
true.
yeah, I feel fine. I'm doing well. But yeah, I'm just getting back to where I want to do stuff. Like the house, I'm repairing stuff because it's all been neglected the last 5 years, and I'm getting back to feeling like I could do stuff again. And,
Well, that's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, you mentioned you were doing some home repairs before you called, huh?
yeah, just dinking around. Yeah, I'm an old retired guy now, so.
And not only that, one thing that Bob and I have in common, and this is kind of funny. For some reason, there was this on the second night when we were all out camping. Now, some people were in yurts, which are like little cabins, and then there was a pyramid house that had like TV and restrooms and a kitchen in it. But Bob and I, we roughed it. I was there with my husband. He brought his own tent, and we were outside in a tent. And remember that storm?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. The winds, but the storm was really weird. I'd never seen sideways lightning like that. I mean, like it went sideways right over the top of where we were at. It would be straight up
was
and
what-
down all around us, but over the top of that ranch, that campground, it went sideways. But him and I
Right, but
were out there in the floods. I mean, torrential rain. We were roughing it, and we made it through it.
yeah, that was the biggest storm I've ever been in. I've never seen so much lightning. It was scary on one hand, but it was like just popping all around us, like there was a dome protecting us.
Yeah, and the thunder. Oh my gosh, it was like, whoa. I mean, your body vibrated with the thunder. It was crazy. It was crazy. But him and I, he brought his own tent. So he's out there in his own tent. We rented one from the place. I do think that you eventually made it your way into the pyramid house and said, forget this noise,
Yeah,
man.
I slept in the cabin that first night, because when I went back to my tent, it had like 2 or 3 inches of water in it.
And Biker Babe, she had come in that day, and the storm was that night, and she had to switch tents 3 times because they all leaked and ended up with downpour. All of her stuff was soaked. Oh my gosh. But the lightning was what was so amazing about that. It was like there was this protective dome over the top of us because this lightning literally, Sagi, it went sideways over the top of us. It did not come straight down. It was coming straight down all around the grounds, but over us, it would like come down and then go off sideways. Did not hit us. It was amazing. And it was actually quite beautiful, but it was, yeah, but I stayed, I guess I'm tougher than you because I didn't run for shelter. We stayed out in that storm all night, and I actually fell asleep during it. I just put the noise into like, okay, well, that's the background noise, meditate. Oh, I went to sleep. It was fun. The place is amazing.
Yeah, and that's when my battery started acting up, and on all my videos I was taking half or most of them didn't turn out.
Really?
Thought I was recording all that lightning and stuff. I was sitting in the car. I made it back to my car. Was sitting there and filming with my Sky 5D was with me, and he got in the car, and we sat there for, what did that storm last? About 3 hours?
It was a long time. It was torrential pouring. If it was only 3 hours, it sure did let off a lot of rain very quickly.
Yeah, just dumped it. But the lightning just was everywhere. It was all around us, 360 degrees, just popping every half a second. It was, I'd never seen so much lightning. It was just amazing. I thought, we're doomed here,
Yeah, where were we going to go? I mean, we really didn't have anywhere to go. And there we are with our tents, with the rod pipes, holding up our tents.
Right.
Talk about living dangerously. But it never hit us. It was amazing. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. But I've never seen lightning behave that way. But that just shows how special that place is. It's just, we were protected.
Cool. Yep.
Definitely protected. Okay, so you are not having to deal with masks, social distancing. Everything's pretty much normal in your area. You know what? I love hearing that. I just absolutely love hearing that, that life is going on and people are not living in a fear paradigm and worried about hugging and touching one another, because that's where it's going to be the battle when this lifts. When people start coming out, they got to build their immune system back up, because the longer you stay away from interacting with other people and outside or whatever, not touching things and all that stuff. When we were kids, we played in the mud and drank out of the water hose. So, the less bugs, then our immune system starts to deplete, and then we'll have to build it back up. So, we don't want to rush out and throw a big old party and swap a bunch of bugs with a whole bunch of people all at once. You'll want to, especially if you've got underlying health issues, you'll want to gradually bring it back to your normal way of life, if you've made the changes. You see what I mean? Like, not if you're living your life normally, like you are, but if you've made changes to your lifestyle, sanitizing your hands all day long and bleaching your countertops and wearing a mask and gloves and staying home 90% of the time, only going out for essential things. Well, you're going to need a little bit of time to let your immune system start to work, to be, because our immune systems are actually quite amazing on how we can't get the same cold twice. We can't even get the same flu twice because we get antibodies. And that would be the problem I would see with that tracing softwares, because once they do get over it, you've got the antibodies. You're not going to get it again. So, do they take you off the app, or is it like what they do to, the sexual predators or whatever, keep you on there for life? You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
the,
I think that, yeah, I mean, I think the only purpose of it is when you are recently, just to keep track of who's been recently exposed. I mean, like, it's basically just to try to keep it, the spreading of, the purpose is supposedly to keep the spreading to a minimum. So if there is somebody out there who tests positive, anybody who was in close proximity to that person would then know that they need to go back into quarantine and or go get tested themselves. That's the purpose of the
I'm not laughing
app.
at you,
Well,
Saji. I'm laughing at
what's killing me
Michael
is
Healy.
all these track and trace people that they're hiring. They're essentially becoming government snitches. They're not, their jobs is going to do more than just work with the app. They're actually going, when someone tests positive, they didn't have, if say they didn't have the app or they didn't have a smartphone or for whatever reason, they weren't able to use the app. Okay, so they will literally have to the job of back tracing. Like back. Remember back in the '90s, let's say you tested positive for AIDS, the doctor would tell you, or HIV, the doctor would tell you, well, you may want to reach out to any of your recent past sexual partners and let them know that you've tested positive, and they may want to come in for a test themselves. So essentially, these skip tracing people or track and trace people their job will be to go back and try to figure out anybody that you came in contact with. You're going, to the best of their recollection, have to, I guess, be subject to their questioning and of your whereabouts. Their job is essentially going to be to sleuth or detectivize any possible people that you may have came in contact with in, say, the past 3 or 4 days. And I don't know if they're going to go so far as to be monitoring people who are out and about and not wearing a mask or not obeying quarantine orders, or if they see a large gathering of people, they're going to call it in. I mean, I don't know how far it goes, but
order for a healthy person, if you're under a quarantine order and you're healthy, is that constitutional?
yeah, absolutely not, without proof.
yeah. I mean, but what if you've recently tested positive?
Who did the test? Where was the test? And I can
The
see
other
also the
question,
track and trace saying, okay, well, you were around all these people, so now we're just going to flag these people orange and anybody they come in contact with. And then
Yeah,
what'll happen is shaming. Public shaming will start
yeah,
happening. And I don't see any good
yeah.
coming from this. I just don't. I
well,
just,
I
the
don't
other thing
either.
is this how they're going to react every time there's another virus now?
no.
If we get another bird flu or swine flu or whatever, we all going to get
Or better
quarantined.
yet, the mutated version that's coming out next year. They're already promising us that too. Uh, they are setting a new standard, aren't they? And it does seem like they are kind of grooming us and conditioning us for better things yet to come. Wouldn't it be safe to say that the writing is on the wall for that sort of behavior?
I think there's two
Yeah.
polar opposite new normals coming in to our reality at this time. It is basically going to be by what we put our intentions and what we focus on. Are we appreciating the sovereignty and respecting each other and not wanting to encroach on their rights to life? Or are we wanting them to do exactly what we say because, we know better than them, and they're just it's like there's two completely polar opposite realities being formed simultaneously. And also,
I agree.
we also have put in place, if you are that terrified I think it came up last night, a school bus filled with elderly people. You know, they're going and they're taking them shopping or whatever, right? And they're terrified that they're going to catch it. So they're all masked up and they go into the store and they're making the most noise about people that are not wearing masks because they feel like their life is in danger because of people that are using, you know, that know they're not sick, and so they're not. A healthy person shouldn't be masking up unless you're performing surgery on somebody. Then you shouldn't be masking up. Okay, well, there is things put in place for that school bus of elderly people. They can stay at home and they can get free grocery delivery. They don't have to leave. They don't have to go out into public. Nobody's forcing them. So, you know, if they are that afraid, instead of trying to force everybody to comply into their fear paradigm, well, take advantage of what has been actually put out there for those people to have things delivered to them, you know, so they don't have to be in fear of somebody wearing a mask or not, or feel like they need to tell on their neighbor for not following the orders that they think are necessary to keep them healthy and safe. It's everything. There's other things in place, and I just wish people would understand that these things are out there. You don't need to bully other people into your way of thinking, and also taking away their rights, the rights of a human being. Touch,
Right.
hugging. I mean, these things are human nature.
Another thing I don't understand is the people walking around with masks on when they're outside. I think you need it in a public place. That's where I use it. But I'm not going to walk around outside with the mask on. I don't think it's an airborne virus.
No, they would actually have to aspirate, and you would have to either inhale it, get it into your mouth, and not swallow. Because once you swallow that specific virus, your stomach acids kill it. So, like, if you think you just got contaminated somehow, and you took a drink of water and washed it down to your belly, it would kill it because the virus can't live in your stomach acids. So that's why the flu, you know, we basically put one umbrella over both flus. If you get a sinus flu, head cold type flu, or you get a stomach flu, but we call them both the flu. Just seems like they're separating the cove part now is now called cove of the flu, and then you got the stomach flu. They're both the flu. They're both viruses.
Right.
So, yeah, interesting things that you guys were bringing up, and I am glad to hear that Oregon is faring through this well. How's the governing body there, Bob? Is everybody?
Well, like they were talking about letting businesses open up,
Okay.
and I haven't seen that many that are closed, you know, but there are some, mostly restaurants. I go to Goodwill and stuff like that. They're closed. A lot of the thrift stores are closed.
Let me ask you this: if let's say the local Olive Garden by you, or Outback Steakhouse or something like that was to reopen, would you feel comfortable going in there, sitting down and having a meal?
Me?
Probably
Yes.
not. I'm more on the cautious side. When I don't know full information, I'm gonna err on the side of caution.
Okay.
I don't eat out a lot anyway. I'm more like farmer. I like to cook.
Right. Yeah, I'm the
My
same
answer
way,
is yes. I would go.
I'm just curious as to how many people will actually show up at these restaurants when, or even a bar for that matter, or a nightclub, go dancing. I mean, who's going to show up and go? I mean, are people going to be afraid to see? Can you see the dance floor with everybody 6 feet apart with masks on, trying to get their boogie on?
Right. It's like people.
They'd
kids.
suffocate and
How
pass
come-
out.
How come people can go? How come people can go to the grocery store, and be around each other, but they can't have a church, that's closed. You
Right.
know,
It's very
That-
easy
it
to
does,
sit 6 foot apart from each other in some of these churches. I don't understand that either. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
yeah, it's like certain things.
But like I
Oh
said,
yeah, I had a long rant about that about a month ago. Go Kurt. I don't know if you heard me on Shifty Sunday. I think it was when I was going on and on about that when they wouldn't let people go to the churches.
Right. Oh, and then I heard another one on the news about some guy playing catch with his daughter outside, and the cop came and was telling him that they can't do that, and that escalated into a fight, and I think the guy got shot.
Yeah, I remember hearing something about that. That's definitely a worst case scenario. Like how can a father and a daughter playing toss in their front yard be a threat to anybody?
Exactly. That's good.
Bob, the best advice that I would give to you and to everybody, and obviously you've got underlying medical, so I'm sure you see your doctor often. Talk to your doctor. Tell him you want the truth about it. How many cases has he or she personally seen? Get the information
Yeah,
from
not only
them.
that, but your doctor is local, and your doctor will have a good vibe on what the real pulse is
Yes.
of, how many people are really being affected in your area.
And
Right.
I've
My
been
doctor's
blessed.
pretty good.
I've been blessed with the doctor that I have, and he's pretty open with me, and I've had him for 10 years. I see him once a month, so of course you establish a rapport, and when this first all started happening, the frustration in his voice and the things that he was telling me, it just blew my mind. And then when I went and seen him yesterday, no mask still, you know, and he was telling me he's not seeing
Right.
people wearing masks around. Now, I did when I went to the store. I've seen some still wearing them, but mainly they were employees, like the pharmacist behind. And when she saw that I wasn't wearing a mask, man, she ripped that sucker right off her face because they're not comfortable, and we shouldn't be breathing in our exhale. We need oxygen. We breathe out
Yeah,
that carbon monoxide.
that's what I was thinking that I got. I had this cold, and then I got it. I got over it, but I got it back, and I'm wondering if because I've only got one mask I've been wearing, and I was coughing in that mask, and then I might have put the mask back on, and I got my cold back.
Well, we have
Yeah,
bugs in our
you're more
system.
likely.
Wait,
Yeah,
hang
you're
on.
more likely to, with a mask on, you're going to set up an environment that makes you more susceptible to things of that nature, because you're breathing in your own breath back in partially. So you're restricting airflow, and you're creating a conducive environment for a potential virus to occur. That's the bad thing about you should wear the mask as little as possible for sure.
Healthy people should
Right.
not be wearing a mask. And number two is when you're wearing a mask and you're breathing back in a lot of the air you just breathed out, took your breath out. What they said was that you're actually activating any kind of bugs or COVID that you already may have in your system. This is not something that we don't have. Just like on your skin, you have staph infection or staph that lives on the outside of your skin. That's why whenever you get stitches and stuff, they have to use the iodine and clean it up really good, stitch it shut, and do the best they can. Same with surgery and things like that, because on the outside of your skin, the staph infection can go in and then cause, issues. We have little bugs, little critters that live on us. That's just part of, the avatar body that we're in. But our immune system, that is also made up of all kinds of little bugs. But those little bugs are the ones that are fighting for, like, the good team. You know what I'm saying? So when you're breathing in and out, you're not allowing yourself to get full oxygen. You're breathing back in carbon monoxide. You're also breathing in back in viruses that your body could be at that time ejecting. So that, like, your good little bugs are saying, get out. It's time for you to go, and maybe it comes out in a sneeze or a cough or something very small. But if you're wearing a mask, you're taking it right back into your body and then activating it within yourself. So, like I said, best thing to do, ask some real good questions to your doctor. I'm sure you see him on a regular basis. Go in with a list. Say, how many have you seen? How many have you treated? How many of them overcame it? Was it like a common cold? Was it, just some basic questions to put yourself at peace.
Right.
And
Well, for me personally, after my heart surgery, I had to take all kinds of medicine, and I was confused for a long time after, a couple of years. And but I just wanted to get off of the medicine. I was going, there, something I'm taking is causing me to feel confused. My mind's not clear. I'm disoriented,
right.
and I just wanted to get off the medicine. Well, anyways, it took 5 years, and now I'm off of everything, mainly the statins. I wanted to get off them. I lost weight. I changed my diet. I changed some lifestyle, and I'm doing well. But so right now I'm celebrating that it's been 5 years. I'm off of all the medication except for aspirin.
Woo,
and stuff
woo.
like that.
Congrats.
Good for you.
Yeah, so I try to avoid that. I avoid the shots. I avoid all those, immunizations, and so if there was a mandatory thing to for the what do you call it?
For the COVID, a vax shot mandatory, yeah. For the COVID-19.
Yeah.
It won't be COVID-19, it'll
Yeah.
be COVID-20. Whenever it mutates, it's going to be I'm sure, a new number behind it. Just like, I don't think they even know what flu number we're on because it mutates every year. That's why you have to get a new shot. They're guessing at what it's going to mutate into, and a lot of times they're wrong. So they just
Yeah,
injected you with the flu, and it's a different flu, so you just got a double whammy.
Yeah, every time I went to the doctor, they'd ask you, "Do you want a flu shot?" And I'd say, "Nope, no, thank you."
Yeah, I've already expressed to my doctor that I would not be interested in a vaccine, and he knows. He already knows that I've just never been. Now, I'm not talking about vaccinations that have caused certain diseases to go extinct. Like, I'm talking diseases or bacterial. If I have a bacterial infection, yeah, you can give me a shot in my rump of some antibiotic or whatever I need. But as for
Right.
preventative medication for viruses, which is kind of like throwing the dice, no.
Right.
I mean, I'm just not gonna go that route. And he didn't make it sound like it would be mandatory. Or maybe he's just going to inject me with some saline and say that I had it. So, all is good. I don't know. But he knows how I feel about that. And he also knows I had one flu shot. One. And I was the sickest I ever been. I thought I was going to die. And I haven't had one ever since. I didn't have one prior to that. And I don't want one. Mm-mm. No. But that's, that was my experiences with, a vaccine for the flu. I don't know if you can actually vaccinate a virus. Viruses are not living.
Yeah, again, I don't understand the whole technical side of that, but
I did a
Like I said-
video, Bob, on I think it is called COVID-19, but it's more about the educational side of the differences between a virus and a bacteria, definition of a virus, and then along with showing how closely the COVID and the influenza virus actually look to each other, And maybe their equipment has gotten better that they can see a better picture of it because they are very similar in their appearance. And with a virus, they have spikes sticking out of them because they have to attach to a living cell in your body. They have to have a host. They've got to leech off of something else. Where a bacteria is, it's a small little guy, but it's able to replicate and do its thing without attaching itself to your cells. It will do cell damage, but it doesn't. It has a nucleus, and it's able to duplicate, replicate, and make you sicker and sicker. And that's why antibiotics will work for a bacterial infection. You can start with a virus, and then it can turn into bronchitis, which is still viral. But then if you don't take care of it, take care of the bronchitis, then you could end up with pneumonia, which means that now it's a bacterial infection because you didn't take care of yourself, get the bed rest and things you needed when it was still viral. And then you got a bacterial infection, and then you'll have to deal with it when that comes about. So it's just basically a educational video, and it just brings up a lot of things that we were taught that maybe we forgot with the research that I did. And then there's the information on some new research that's in there too. But I only did it to help people remember things you already knew.
Yeah, well, I forget half the stuff that I know, so it's good to watch that video.
I didn't know Voynich was still here. Yeah, we're getting ready to clear up. Only had one call, but that's better than last time, right, Sagi?
Oh yeah, not to mention it was a great call.
Oh yeah, Go Kart Bob is he's awesome. And again, I've been so blessed to meet so many of these people in person that when you meet somebody in person, you can't try to be something that you're not. You know what I mean? It's like it's the authenticity is there, and I met so many beautiful people that are just, I don't know. I just really enjoyed our weekend. Well, actually, it wasn't a weekend. It was 4 days. It was an extended weekend. And the time that we all shared, and the things that we all experienced there, the pictures we shared, as we were getting different images. And but I met, what, there were 70 or 80 of us?
Oh, I know. That's what I went there expecting to see about 5 people that I knew, and there was like 50. I was going, wow.
Yeah, he was expecting 50 total in the park, and there was 120. The park,
wow.
The park wasn't ready for us. We were a thunderous group. And so it was, it was amazing. It was fun. And
You guys brought the thunder, huh?
no, I mean, we took over. I mean, wherever you look, whatever direction you looked at, or wherever you were walking, there was one of us, of our group. You're going to see one of us somewhere. And then we would all sit around the fire pit and share pictures and things that we were seeing. It's a great place. I would love to go back. It's so beautiful there, and I would love to go back. They're going to do another meetup. I'm not sure where, but it's going to be more like central, but I don't think I'll be able to make that one. But who knows? You never know, because I sure would love to see everybody again. And then more.
You never know. Yeah, it was a fun trip, for sure.
John Binney came from
I
Scotland.
couldn't be much further away from you guys than I am, being all the way down here in Tampa, Florida.
It would be about like the halfway mark from Go Kart Bob and I. If we went and met you, and they're doing it in the middle of the United States, and you're coming from Florida, it would be the halfway mark. So you drive halfway, we'll drive halfway, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, we'll have to meet at the Silver Dollar.
Oh yeah, Suso.
Go to
Yes,
Sus.
yes. I want to go to the next Mandela conference. But John Binney, that was on here as the guest, he came in and was at ESETI with us, and he flew in from Scotland.
Oh
Right.
wow.
Yep. So we got to meet him in person, and that's quite a trip.
Uh, the other thing, there's another on the Mandela effect. I've kind of faded out of it, uh, or I've adjusted to it, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not so shocked by it anymore. And I really think there's a lot of people that make up stuff. I heard one again on the song, music, and stuff. I don't think songs are a good indicator of Mandela effect because so many people misremember music. I have my cousin. He's been in bands. He plays guitar. He's been coming over. We sit around, play a little music. I'm not very good. I play a harmonica a little bit, play guitar a little bit. That's what we've been doing for past time. But he'll do songs that he knows, and he'll get the words wrong. So we get, it's hard to use a song as a Mandela effect.
Right.
I can see your point there, Go Kart. I know there's been lots of examples where all my whole life I thought the song said a certain thing, and then I actually seen the lyrics written out. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I always thought they were saying this when they were saying that. And it's just because when you're singing it, it just sounds natural to sing it, the way that you hear it, because people can hear things differently, hear the same song, but hear the words differently. And that is a true statement.
Right, like maybe the first time you heard the song, like me, when I was younger, I heard a lot of songs on the AM radio. But then we get FM radio, and it's a lot clearer. And then you might hear it better, and you thought it said something, and then you say, oh, well, now it says something else, But it hasn't really changed. You just hear it differently.
And so since
again,
I feel
it's
that way
not,
also a lot of times about spelling of names too, because name spelling is so one of those things where you could so easily get it wrong. Now with a few exceptions here and there, but when you're just changing like an I or an E or something like that, I think you guys are I think people can be stretching just a little bit when that kind of stuff happens.
You're picking up on my thoughts, Sagi.
he does that.
I was going to say my last name is spelt with an IE, and a lot of people aren't sure if it's EI or IE, and I always have to spell my name out so people can get it right. And it's funny you said, use that as an example, IE, because that's what I was thinking.
So I wanted to end it with this. I know that for me, with the Mandela effect, it was a big eye opener, and from there we do move on. You start getting a better understanding and understanding about this place, how malleable, how fluid it is, and how your intentions, whatever you're focusing on, really resonate around you. And so what is your feeling on that now, since you're moving past that? I was totally there too. The fascination with what the heck is going on was there, but then you move past that and step into something bigger, better, more.
I used to listen. I listened to Art Bell for almost 20 years, a good 15 to 20 years. I have a little AM radio by my bed, and I listen to it when I go to sleep. And I listen to all kinds of shows, about quantum physics, quantum science, multiverse, all that stuff. And I didn't believe it. I'm on the skeptic side. And I go, yeah, that's a bunch of baloney. How are you going to prove it? I don't believe any of this stuff. Well, all of a sudden, the Mandela effect hits me, and now it makes more sense. I go, all them shows that I listen to kind of flash back, and I go, maybe the universe is more malleable, as they say. You know, maybe there is.
Yeah, I think that really is the big takeaway. Go kart is once you're affected by the Mandela effect, it's not like you need more effects to reinforce it. Once you got some that really resonate with you, I think it's the whole purpose, the whole key of it in the first place is just to make you realize, that there is some simulation going on here. That our reality is more conscious based than we may have originally thought it was. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's kind of where it's brought me along. It's not like I need any more effects to reinforce that issue for me.
Right. It's like, for me, where it was about, I think, 2014 is when I had my surgery, and then it was like a year or so after that, I got on the internet. I didn't have internet for 10 years. But anyway, after my surgery, like I said, I had all this confusion. I went home, it didn't even feel like my home. I couldn't find stuff. I didn't know where my checkbook was. I said, I don't even know if I got any money in it. I can't remember anything. And that's what I was going through. And then after a couple of years, my mind cleared up and things started coming back to me better. I could remember things again. And but it was a tough deal. But anyways, I went to the store, and the first thing, and I didn't have the internet. I go in there and I looked at the Kit Kat bars. I'm walking down the candy bars, and I go, "Hey, Kit Kat, what happened to the hyphen?" I go, "Well, that's weird." And then I'm walking down the soap aisle, and I see OxyClean. And I go, "What? I thought I thought it was with a Y." Oh, and I was going to say, I'm dyslexic, so spelling things don't help me either. I'm terrible at spelling. If somebody told me a word changed, I wouldn't know. I always struggle with it. But certain things stick out, like oxy, that's the easy word. And I go, now it's all OXI, or the other way around.
Don't tell me you then made your way over to Febreze. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Though, seriously, hang on. I didn't mean to cut you off, Bob, but, one of the things that I think has become more obvious is the people who have been able to see these anomalies, this phenomenon, also
Yeah.
are seeing other phenomena that's going on. Now, there's tons of rabbit holes we can go down. If you want to do some research, that's fine. The more knowledge is power, of course. But when it comes down to it, what you got going on in your heart, and I've noticed this with sky watchers, is, especially the ones I've met in person, that their heart reflects out around them. So that tells me that whatever they've got going on within them, they're creating the outer experience. So one of the things that I did was take responsibility for what I imposed on other people when I, was doing things that was more self-centered or selfishly, not caring how it affected other people. Where now I think about, okay, when I am thinking from my heart, I want a better place that's going to be better for everybody, and I don't want to impose what I'm creating over the top of somebody else, what they're trying to create. And with that understanding that as our eyes are being open, I feel like we're lucky that we were able to see these changes and how different they are for each individual, because each individual is creating what is going on around them to a certain degree, because so is everybody else, and we buffer each other. So when you're trying to actually create something for yourself, just to test it, because I always test everything, you just don't tell anybody what you're trying to create. Just sit there and pray on it, meditate, whether you be Christian, whatever religion, don't even worry about that. Just none of that matters. Um, just focus and then watch it transpire. Maybe write it in your journal so then you'll have a reference point to when you started asking for it, to how long it took for you to actually see it. And then as you get stronger in that, then you can start sharing it with others so then they can realize, wait a minute, I'm responsible for a lot of what is going on here. That's why we could see two completely different paradigms right now. The asleep, or people would call them sheeple, that willingly would go along with a program such as this and follow, and ask for an answer from an outside source rather than seeking from within them in prayer, meditation. Prayer to me is when you're speaking, and meditation is when you're listening, and then that connection is made, then you're not going to seek for answers from an outside source anymore because you get it. You're connected back. You don't need a mediator. You know what I'm saying? And then things start to manifest around you, and you walk in a peace that's beyond understanding with this love for other people. Seeing, even if they're asleep, you can still see that they are creating what is going on around them. So I don't know if you've come to any kind of conclusion like that, Bob, but I would be interested to know that once you passed the Mandela effect and realize that this place is fluid, that
Well, yeah. I don't know what it means. I don't know what's causing it. I'm like, I was so glad I met all you guys because, I started seeing more and more things, and I'm going, what is going on? I thought it was the medicine, causing this confusion. But then when I got online, and I used to read the Bible a lot, and I really studied it. Like when I hit 40, I said I never actually read the Bible until I was 40 years old. And when I read it, I was going, wow, it's quite a bit different than what you hear people say. I said, when you actually read what it actually says, and I'm detail oriented. Like I said, because of my spelling, I looked up a lot of words in the Bible. I got a concordance and stuff, and so I'd do these little word studies, and that helped me to understand it better. And then when I got online, I found this stuff about the Mandela effect, and then when they said the Bible had changed, I said, no way. That's what hit me. I just didn't know what to think. I go, how can the Bible change? You can't change the words. But I've only studied the King James Bible. I've only read King James. I don't read the other versions. I believe it's an accurate translation, and there's other translations are just to make it easier for somebody to understand. But there was key words like wineskins. That's the one that hit me. I was going,
I know the one you're referring to.
Yeah, it was in the Bible. I read it. I looked up that word because I wanted to know
it's
what
bottles,
it means.
right?
Yeah, and then I go, bottles? That's ridiculous. And there's so many others. And they
well,
start
don't
coming
forget
up, and I
that
go,
Caesar's face is on the penny now. Let's not forget that one. I was reading
What?
my physical Bible when that one changed on me. I was like, what? Yeah, Caesar's face. Caesar's face is on the penny instead of the denarius. It's Caesar's on the penny. I'm like, really? I thought that was Lincoln.
On an American coin?
Yeah, it's penny. It says penny in the Bible now. I was like, and I was right there in that. See, I would read, and then when I would open the Bible up again, I would read back over the few passages that I had stopped at, just to get the flow back to where I was. And lo and behold, it changed from Caesar's image is on. It was talking about give to Caesar what is Caesar's, da da da, and then because he asked whose image is on the denarius, and they said Caesar's image, It says, now it says,
Right.
whose image is on the penny? Caesar's image. I'm
I
like,
think
what?
the word used to be pence, right?
It used to be denarius. That's what the coins were called back then.
Right. It was
Denarius. Yes.
denarius and a pence. It was something. I know there's a verse in there about
Mites.
something about.
I remember the
But
lady that put in the 2 mites, and she put in more than all.
Right.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
That may have
All her
changed though.
living.
Yeah. So you may have zinged me.
But yeah, and there was other.
Yeah, but you were talking about the wineskins, Go-Kart. Was there something you were wanting to say about that?
No, it was just the first word that I found in the Bible that had changed. And it just
Okay,
threw
so
me-
that was like a big reveal for you, wasn't it?
Right. It's kind of like I was going, what is this Mandela stuff, And then I found Scott Harrison because of his icon was the Kit Kat bar, and I said, I want to see what this guy has to say, and then other people, like Shane and all these groups, and I'm going, man, this stuff's crazy. What's really going on?
Exactly. What is really going on?
With the Bible,
that would be a good way of
With the
looking at it. I know everybody's always trying to figure out what's the meaning behind the Mandela effect, what's the bigger picture, what's the hidden message.
And
I
why
really
some
think-
can see it and some can't.
I really think that it's for everybody to realize that when they're ready to realize it, and not everybody's maybe meant to realize it, but that certain people, when they do realize it, I think the whole purpose is just to make you aware of the fluidity of our reality, the fact that our reality is malleable and that it can be affected, and I think that's the long and the short of it, is for people to be able to realize that.
And it's not a new thing. It's been like this the entire time. We just never. We were so into the humdrum. Just like when a Bible change will come about, and then a preacher will just read it the new way without flinching, because these changes were just happening, and it was like a normal thing because we had, we had the things, blinders over our eyes, and now the blinders have been removed. And as your blinders are being removed, you can now see. You're able to see. And you're like, whoa.
the problem with
And not
that
only
is
that, but then, yeah, go ahead.
that Jesus said, not one dot or tittle will change until all things be fulfilled. That's why I always lean to the Mandela effect being a
Interesting.
sign from God, but I don't know what the sign is. I mean, what's he trying to tell us?
But
This is from.
I'm not trying to change your perspective. I just want to give you a different perspective on that. Not one jot or tittle will be, done away with until he did away with all of it. Do you understand? In his time, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. He didn't say it's coming in 2,000 years. He said it's at hand. And not
Right.
one jot or tittle. He did not come to do away with the law, but to fulfill it. Not one jot or tittle would go to the wayside until he fulfilled it all. So he got it completely out of the way. And we're under a new covenant. And that new covenant it's just love. It's about loving each other and realizing who we are to each other. It's beautiful.
Right. And it's like Christianity or church and stuff. What I think they're missing is so many just want to find one thing. They say, oh, just love God. That's all you got to do. Yeah, or just say, I love Jesus. That's all. That's all. They just want to nail it down to one thing, and then you're safe. But what I see is there's actually two things. It's where Jesus said, you got to have the testimony of Jesus Christ and keep the commandments of God.
And what
order
is your
to enter.
testimony of Jesus? What do you think the testimony of Jesus is? I mean,
It's like it's the love part. Love your neighbor, be forgiving, all that stuff.
no,
The
no. I
basics.
think you've got a testimony, Bob. I really think you have, and each of us are unique. You have your testimony of Jesus Christ, the Christ in you, and the
Right.
scales were removed from your eyes. So you have your personal testimony. Nobody can take that from you. I think a lot of times people would read something and put a doctrine. We've got what 35,000 different denominations of Christianity now because they've all interpreted it, the Bible just so slightly different and
Yeah.
branched off from each other. But that should just show you there it's not it's not meant to be like a group thing. It's so individual and unique to each person. God is not a respecter of persons. It's a divinely inspired, and it's just, yeah. I'm enjoying what you're sharing. Please continue.
Yeah.
I would have already closed up, but no, I'm really enjoying this call. Sagi, are you okay for a few more minutes?
Oh yeah, I'm
Okay.
yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah. When it comes to the Bible, what Jesus, like the part that talks about the wedding, going to the wedding, you're supposed to bring something old and something new. That's where that term comes from.
Something
Something
borrowed,
old is
something.
the Old Testament. It's the law. It's and what Jesus came and told was he explained it and how to apply it. It's really like a two-part thing. So the having the testimony of Jesus Christ, that's the New Testament. Also having the law is the Old Testament. Like Jesus said, that it's the law that will not change. And that's what the stories in the Bible are all about. It's all about rebellion against God's law. That's what causes all this chaos. That's what causes maybe all these changes, why things are not stable. Because we still, the bulk of Christianity teaches that we're not under the law. I disagree. When I started studying, as a Christian, I grew up as a Christian, and I wasn't real heavy or anything. But I wanted to know what the Jewish perspective was. What do they think? And that was the primary of my study the last 10, 15 years. And I go, yeah, it's kind of like there's two things, You got to know the Old Testament and you got to know the New Testament. But I believe the Old Testament prophecies were fulfilled by Jesus. So the prophecy in the Old Testament is done away with or fulfilled, but there's still shadows of things that Jesus said will be the signs of his return. So I still believe,
What do you think about the possibility and probability that his return in the clouds, okay, that clouds actually mean something different, but clouds
Yeah.
would be like in your mind and in your heart. What if his return is in you?
right. Yeah, it's words like that you just read it at face value, and you think, oh, okay,
You're
whatever.
waiting. Yeah.
There's another verse where he says, it's in Matthew 13, where, excuse me, where he said, when he returns, what did he say? Oh, so shall it be at the end of this world. I will send my angels to gather the wicked, burn them in fire, and then take my people into my barn or whatever, something like that. Paraphrasing.
Take the tares out. And what if it was the tares were inside of you and the wheat's inside of you. So the tares are the misinformation and misunderstandings on how we thought that, God was outside of us and was a jealous and wrathful. And when Jesus said it plainly, just love God, the creator of all, with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. Love your neighbor as yourself, which would include enemies and all that, because we're all one family and there's nothing outside of God. And even he was telling the religious sect of that day that they were of their father, the devil, because they put together organized religion, and everybody needs to put in a certain amount of money to go into the temple tax and all that, and enjoyed high lofty seats, and they were busy judging one another. And that's another thing. You judge not, lest ye be judged. By the same measure of judgment that you're judging other people is going to be measured back
And
on you. I mean, there's so much there that just tells you about the equality and the beauty and the God's fingerprints on everything, and how, why did he call us the pinnacle of his creation? He gave us free will. He gave us the ability to have these experiences, to grow, learn, expand, and come into
right.
this. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying about how the words, they could mean something different than, like you read it on the surface and you say, oh, clouds, but does it really mean something else? There's other words like that, and that's why I did the word studies. But something else you mentioned, jealous, a jealous God. That's another word I looked up, and all it means is upright. And it just means like the highest of the high. It's jealous, we think in English is something, somebody being jealous of somebody else.
Envious, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that. In Hebrew, it's different. And that's where we get some of that confusion about words. But another example is the word fire. Like he says, he'll gather up the wicked and burn them with fire. But I believe fire just means judgment.
Purification.
It all means it's God is going to judge them harshly. But we see it in English. We take it as a different meaning. We, kind of go overboard, I think.
But when you've seen Christ, you've seen the Father, right? He tried to plainly tell people. And I always think about who accepted his message. Who did he talk to that he restored them? Take up your bed and walk. Who were these people? They would be considered by the religious sects as like deplorables, prostitutes, tax collectors, things like that. But what was the message that he was teaching?
That verse where Jesus said, "You have seen me, you have seen the Father," is not. I don't take that literally. He's not saying that he is the Father. He's just representing the Father.
No, and he's wanting you to see that in you.
Yeah, of course.
That's
one of the big.
It's just amazing. It is just absolutely. It's just it's mind blowing. It took me a long time to unravel what you call the terrors, the misinformation, the misunderstanding, the misteachings that the outer voices were telling me, that I needed to let go of all that and seek from within. Go into your prayer closet and your Father will reward you openly, right? But those who stand on the street corners praying so loudly, they have their reward, okay? Meaning that they're doing works, and so they are already putting themselves. But it still means, what it basically means is that regardless of where you stand, the reward is the same. Think about the one where he talks about he goes and he gets a crew of people to work in a field. They agree on what they're going to get paid. Well, then half the day goes by and he goes and gets more. And he's going to pay them. And so they go and they join the others that have been working half a day already. And then the last hour of the day comes and he grabs another group and he pulls them in. And then they're done. And then as they're getting paid, the people that were there all day started to get angry. And they said, wait, this isn't right. We were there all day, but these are making the same as what we did for the whole day. And then they were told, wait, didn't we already agree on this when you said you would work for the whole day? And that goes along with, there's no first, last, or any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter how long it takes for somebody to come to the understanding of who and what you truly are. There is no first, there is no last. The reward is the same regardless. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what I really enjoy about, really seeing the Bible through the new eyes that I was given and being able to read into it. There's layer upon layer in the Bible. You can read it at the surface level and it could scare the caca out of you. Or you could read it at the deeper levels and it's all about how God loved us first and our desire within us to love God and connect back. We have free will, so we wander off like the prodigal. But no matter what, when we turn and come back and we have a feeling in our heart, this is beyond, I can't even describe it. The beautiful love is just amazing.
There's some specific things in the Bible that does say there's a separation. That's why people believe in a rapture. They think he's going to come and take a group of people, but not everybody. That's pretty clear. Whether you believe that, pre-rapture, post-rapture, whatever, you still see a separation. But that brings up another question. Why are there two resurrections? Jesus said, blessed are those who are in the first resurrection, because the second death has no part on them. But then the second resurrection, what I believe the first resurrection is at Jesus coming. Those who are dead in the grave, which I believe are sleeping in theory, that's why we say rest in peace, and it's really waiting for him to come. And that's the first resurrection. But the rest of the dead, and they're called wicked, again, that word wicked is used, they stay in the grave through the 1,000 years, through the millennium time. And then the second resurrection is at the end of the millennium.
Do you remember that when on the third day and his tomb was empty, that actually it's in one of the they took a bunch of the books out of the Bible, but many of those prophets and of old and things like that were actually seen walking around. And then when he went up the after, I think it was I don't know how much time he spent walking around, and then when he was taken up, they all left too. Okay, so I would think a first resurrection would have been at that point. Do I think that we're going to like our body, our physical body is going to go into the other realms and dimensions? I don't know. I really think that there are other bodies that we will inhabit, our glorified bodies, so to speak. Remember, he was on the Mount of Transfiguration. He was already aware of who he was and was able to transfigure. And he had two of his disciples there that seen it, and he was talking to, I think Moses was on one side and Elijah on the other, and they're like, oh, we should make 3 tents. And he said, no, just the one. One is sufficient, because there's one of you. There's one of you. So The Bible is a very beautiful book, and a lot of the
Maybe,
things there's been if you wanted to control the situation or have people still under some type of control, fear is the best control, as we see with what's going on now. Using fear, people will give their power over to another to make decisions for them. So if you're constantly afraid of your creator, you're going to want somebody else to give you messages. You're not going to see because you're going to be terrified of it. Even when
like,
Moses was telling them, listen, he's speaking to you too, and they're like, no, we're too scared. We're too scared. So they wanted Moses to be their intercessor, which was keeping
right.
them from, put
The
that
word,
boundary. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
they say, to fear God. That's another word that's poorly interpreted, because when you look it up, it just means to revere.
Mm-hmm.
It means to, respect God.
Love.
I mean, the fear.
You
Again, in English, we for our first reaction is that it means to fear Him. Tremble and be scared.
Yes,
But
because he's
that's
going to
not.
judge you. He's going to put you in hell forever if you don't do what I'm telling you is righteous.
There's another thing I think that the church is missing is they talk about like that. He's going to judge you, but wait, he's going to judge your good, not your bad. The bad Jesus took care of. He took the punishment for our sin, which was death, and that's where I think he went in those 3 days. Anyways, and took that punishment, so we won't have to go through that. But God will judge us for the good we do. That's what I try to preach to people: is focus on the good, not the bad. Because the reward, he says, Jesus said, when I come, I bring my reward with me to give every man according to his work. Which is, we always think negative, or people think negative.
And we're thinking physical work. How many people did you lead to Christ? Something to think about here is I truly, in my heart of hearts, know that I wasn't lucky enough to be born in a country that happens to worship the right God. I know that's all people, all nations, different cultures, everything. All in all, everything is God. There's nothing outside of God. So he created
Well,
us, but he gave us free will to choose.
everything is because of God. It's like on the science side, the E equals mc squared. E is energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe God is. God, he's an invisible force, kind of like gravity, as far as how we can relate to him. It's so hard to understand. But not trying to put him in a box, but just try to understand that he is that energy that is in the quantum, where energy and mass can separate. That's the cat in the box thing of Schrodinger's cat. Like I've told people about that one, and they always go, well, what happens to the cat? And I go, the story really isn't about a cat. It's about energy and mass. When something hits something at a high force, it explodes. And that explosion is that energy, the invisible force that's holding the nucleus of that atom together. And when they separate, the energy, the mass explodes and ceases to exist. But the energy still exists.
Yes.
But we can't see. And that energy can go through different dimensions. That's what they're trying to explain. We're in this three-dimensional existence. When something explodes, that energy can go through to the fourth dimension. So that's what Schrodinger's cat is trying to explain.
And
only thing
energy is neutral until you put your intention behind it, and then it will have a purpose. And even if energy comes out as something that is maybe harmful to another, it can also be converted with, back to neutral and then sent back out with a hug and a kiss. Energy is neutral. It
Right,
doesn't
that's
it doesn't see in black and white, good and bad.
Yeah, you're talking about like emotional energy or personal energy.
Energy, period.
Electricity, or it's hard to explain. I'm not a physicist. It's stuff I learned.
Well, you're
from
doing a
Art
great
Bell.
job. You sound like one.
Well, it's stuff I learned from Art Bell. It was one of the great shows. I don't remember who the guy was that came on and explained that. And when he did, it just clicked with me, and I go, I get it. How it connects with words in the Bible about God creating and the logos and all what that. I looked up and did a study on the word logos. What it means is, like you're saying, it's a process of when God spoke and everything was, right? He caused everything to come into existence.
Through
Called the
vibration.
logos.
Mm-hmm.
But what it starts from the heart. It's a feeling that goes from the heart, is processed through the brain, and then comes out the mouth. It's just like when anybody has a thought of something, like to create something. You want to build something, a dog house or bird house. You think about it, how I'm going to do it first. It's like you draw a little picture in your head, but then you manifest it physically, and you make it come to existence. But it all started from your heart, because you saw a little bird, and you want, hey, that bird needs a house. I'm going to build that bird a house. There's something that's the motivation behind it. That's really what the logos is. So when God said, let there be light, again, that's energy. It's all connected to God. Like you said, God is in everything. And it truly is in our world.
And you
But
being a pinnacle of His creation, like, God was very happy with creating man. Well, you got free will. You are able to experience, expand, grow, learn, and you love God because God loved you first. You have that desire to want a closeness, a reconnection back to the Creator of all. So, yeah, it's a pretty it's profound. It's amazing. It's beautiful, and
But as the story goes,
it takes time.
He created a certain world that became corrupt, right? As the story goes, this condition, we're living in a condition that isn't the original condition. What he created became corrupt, and then he changed everything. He cast us out of the garden into this world that we're in now. Whether the garden was here, I don't know. But so there's this condition, which is chaos. That's the condition we're in right now. And this, as the story goes, God's going to fix that through His Son. And that's why I believe Jesus' return is physical. It's a real appearance of Him coming and stopping all this. He's the one that's going to come and fix where we were lied to and confused and all this condition why things are the way they are, it's not going to be like that forever, because he's got a plan to fix it. And again, that's my hope, is for his return. And yeah, I don't think it's an enlightenment. I don't think it's we're all going to become advanced some way or become like Jesus. Not until
What's your thoughts on the Holy Spirit, the promise of the Holy Spirit? What do you think that when Christ said that I must go so that I can send you a helper? What is your thoughts when you have the indwelling of the Holy Spirit?
I was thinking and kind of laughing when you were talking there. I missed some. But
are you laughing at me?
Right because Holy Spirit, that's a hard thing to explain. Kind of like God Himself. He's an invisible God. He's not physical like we think of physical. We think of our beings and all that, our substance. But yet we're like Him, I believe, emotionally. That God has 7 spirits, and those 7 spirits are emotions, just like demons. Demons are emotions. And again, the word studies help so much to explain this stuff. But I can't remember the 7 spirits, the names of the 7 spirits of God. But their anger, their wrath, their happiness, their love, their caring, it's both sides. And that's how we are. We all have all those feelings and emotions too, and sometimes we're good and sometimes we're bad. But it's a matter, what Jesus was telling us was how to get over that, It's a challenge. Some days we do good and some days we do bad. But it's all going to add up in the end to our reward that we receive at the end of this life. And so, yeah, again, I kind of get lost in my own thoughts.
That's okay. I've really enjoyed getting to know you better on, where you're at, what you're thinking, what you've got going on within you, how you're moving past the Mandela and moving into, walking in it, even down to talking about, the Bible, and it's all been great. I would love it if you would call in again, and share more, as we know this is a journey and we are all walking it out daily, and we grow daily with, the understanding and understanding, and with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Some will call it higher self, some call it connection to source. The language to me doesn't matter. It's about the connection. And
Right.
and Jesus said it best, that, love the Creator with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself, and you will fulfill the law. Because you're not going, if you love somebody, you're not going to hurt them. You're not going to want to take away any of their rights or their sovereignty. You're not going to want, to do any harm to them. So the law is fulfilled within you automatically, but without, you don't have to look it all up and make sure that you are, I got to put my right shoe on before my left shoe, and I have to, dress a certain way. I have to, they were getting pretty redunculous when Christ came about, even how they were to put their clothing on. They had laws for everything. So, it is, like I said, I'm thick. It's taken me a long time. Let's see, I'm on 20 years now. So I got super excited with the Mandela effect, and so many people seeing that. I mean, I was just like jumping for joy. And it's just, it's a progression, and it's an understanding, and loving our Creator and loving each other, because we're in this together. we're
Yeah, if
sharing
I can
this
say one
space.
more, if I
Sure.
can say one more thing about the law, the premise, the basic premise of the law are God's 10 commandments, not the Jewish law, the 613 laws that the Jewish people made. It's those 10 commandments that God gave to Moses. Those things are still celebrated. That's what Passover is really about. Passover is not about Jesus. Passover is about Moses receiving the law from God, the
Right.
law of right and wrong. And something else about the 10 Commandments that something I noticed, the first 4 commandments are how to love God. The next 6 commandments are how to love your neighbor.
Mhm.
Again, that connects to that 2-part thing.
Mhm.
There's again two things. And fulfilling the law, because there's a big debate in Christianity about, do we keep the law or not, and what it means is, to me, how did Jesus fulfill the law? He fulfilled it by keeping it. He didn't fulfill it by ignoring it.
But
When
he
he was
he he fulfilled all of the Jewish law though too, mind you, all the 600 and
well,
something. So he at no jot or tittle he fulfilled it, and the prophecies.
I don't know about that. I don't think the rabbi would agree with that, because the law was made by the 613 laws were made by man, by human beings. The commandments are separate, and again, that's why the word. Again, we casually say law when we mean commandments, but they're not the same. Again, word study shows this. The laws are meant to be broken, as we say,
Bob.
but commandments cannot be broken. When you're commanded to do something, you have to do that. If it's a law, it's kind of like a rule. You might have a rule in a game, and if you break that rule, oh well, no harm or foul. It's just a game, So you lose points or you lose the ball or whatever. We have rules for certain things, rules to our conditioned life. But a commandment is a higher command. It's a higher law. And those are the things I think Christianity really messed up on. And I don't want to say too much. It was just in the tick people off. I don't want to do that. But where it comes from, that we don't have to keep the law, is from the Roman Catholic Church. It's all in their creed, and they're saying they have the power to change God's word. They have the power and authority to change God's laws. They say it right blatantly in their creed. And it goes back to Constantine and all this stuff when the Bible was first put together. So there's parts of the Bible I don't agree with because of some things like that. I believe in the basics overall, but when it comes down to details, the Roman Catholic Church, I believe, hijacked the message of Jesus. And the church, and that's when they canonized Paul's letters to the 7 churches. Paul, in my opinion, was not an apostle. An apostle is somebody who lived with Christ. That's those 12 apostles that he picked.
Disciples.
Their names are in the Bible. And Paul is not one of them. And Paul even said himself that he is called an apostle, but not worthy to be an apostle. And those are all confusing things. We go, well, what does that mean? But I think it was the Roman Catholic Church that canonized, added Paul's book to the Bible, or to the scriptures, of Jesus, and that caused more confusion and more chaos than it helped. I believe that's what a lot of the arguing between Jewish and Christian people is where all that debate comes from. Paul, I think, is long-winded and hard to understand, just like it says. But I really question some of those things. I have a little poem too. I say, Paul is a preacher, but Jesus is our teacher.
Nice.
And so there's a higher authority. But I hear so many churches preaching Paul. Paul said this. Paul said that. Paul did this. Paul. And I go, who are you following? Are you following Paul? Are you following Jesus? Because Jesus didn't teach those things. Jesus didn't, the sacrifices, that's a law that was fulfilled, was the sacrifices. We don't have to do that anymore. But we still have to, and this is a Mandela effect, we still have to remember the Sabbath days. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Again, now, it doesn't say remember. I'm shocked it's that way.
Really? So now what does it say? It just says Sabbath day, keep it holy?
It's omitted. It's not even there.
Oh.
And I used to preach that to people. I said, because when I started keeping Sabbath, people say, well, what do you do? And I say, you can do whatever you want to do. It's up to you what you do on that day. But all it says in the Bible is to remember that. But there's 7 Sabbaths, right? There's 7 holy days, and the holy days are called Sabbaths. So it's not just the weekly Sabbath. It's those 7 holy days that God made that are important. They're Passover, Feast of Trumpets. There's 3 in the spring, 4 in the fall, or vice versa. I did. And these are the things I wanted to learn about. I go, well, what do the Jewish people do? Well, they keep Sabbath. They don't keep Christmas. They don't keep Easter. They don't keep Sunday Sabbath. Again, that was created by the Holy Roman Empire. And so I go, yeah. When Friday comes, I go, oh, Friday night, sunset, it's Sabbath. I don't do any rituals. I don't do anything, like put, things on my head or whatever.
You don't put things on your head and dance around with incense and twirling it around you and... Why not, Bob?
But I recognize...
I'm just kidding.
I know. What I'm trying to point to is it just shows that it was changed by man. It was originally a one day, and then man is what changed it. Not God, not Jesus. Jesus, a lot of people preach that, he rose on Sunday. Well, I said, well, show me in the Bible where Jesus rose on Sunday.
To be quite honest with you, I don't even think that we know the proper days of the week. Now, I don't think we really know that we know
right,
what day or what number day it is of the week. We just don't.
Yeah, that's another thing. I started trying to study about these holy days and when are those. You want to talk about confusion. I said, the more I've learned about Judaism or the Jewish perspective, I go, they're just as confused as Christians. Because they don't know what day to keep. I mean, they have 2 different calendars. One thinks that the New Year starts in the spring. The other one says the New Year starts in the fall. One says, the New Year's is on Passover. The other one is on Tabernacle. And I go, so how do we know? I mean, we're all so confused, and this is what I think is all so polluted on both sides.
and
that our
remember
calendar.
that when you know, Judaism and all that was going on, they were like controlled by Rome. Like when Paul was there, it was Roman soldiers were everywhere. He was Roman and he was Jewish. So, you know,
Exactly.
the confusion could have started long before we could ever, you know, fathom. But I think, you know,
Right.
when they
Right.
try to do the moon thing, and then when they were told when to start the new year or the new month based on the moon cycle, then it would be the first day and things like that. Maybe that might help get us back onto the actual schedule. But, you know, we may not need to even really worry about it. What if, because a day is like 1,000 years and 1,000 years is like a day. So we're still, no matter what we're doing for 1,000 years, it's all one day in the creator. You know what I'm saying? Because time is,
Right.
the concept of time, I think, is a man-made construct so we can keep appointments with each other. So, you know, there's just, when you get into religion and dogmas and things, man-made type of rituals and things like that, I think that's when we veer kind of off the path of that narrow path that Christ talked about. Narrow path that just you and him are walking on. Walk on it. Let him teach you. Let him guide you. He first starts out as your Lord of Lord, King of Kings. Then he's master. Then he's your rabbi. Then he's your teacher. Then he's your friend. Then he's your brother. So you go, you know, the different
Yeah.
stages that you go through with the teachings, with the indwelling
When
from
when
what the helper that he sent. I do believe that
when
part.
Jesus when he tried to explain things, about his return, when they realized he was going to go away, that he was going to come back, and the first thing they asked him is, "Well, when? What will be the signs of your return?" That's the big question. That's what the Bible's all about. I mean, it's uh, because like the Jews, they expected the Messiah to come and fix the world.
Yeah,
So
they were
that's why
looking
they
for a
don't accept.
militant type of a savior. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't expect, uh, or they didn't accept Jesus as the Messiah because he didn't save the world. They said, "Oh well, he did it in a metaphoric way. He saved us
Oh,
from
but
our
he
sins."
did. They are mistaken. I mean, they didn't. He
Parts
didn't
of
do it the way
true.
they thought it was going to transpire. But yeah,
Yeah, but so it wasn't. That's why they don't accept it because he said he's going to return again. But the Jews have always been waiting for the real Messiah. They're still I call them the old-fashioned Jews. They're like two different sects of them. Uh, the old Jews who didn't believe Jesus. But then you have the new Jews who are Messianic, who accept Jesus as the Messiah. That he did, he was the guy. He did come and do all these things that the Bible prophesied, and he fulfilled those things. Like him, he would ride in on a donkey. He would do, all these certain things. He,
and
there was
remember when
a
he was preaching in the temple, and he was in the temple, and he got up and he read the scroll about the day of the Lord has come, and then he stopped because the day of the Lord had come. And then he healed somebody, and they're like, "You're not supposed to work." He's like, "Which one of you wouldn't pull your calf out of a well, or so how much less? What are you thinking, that a person is less? They don't deserve to be healed and get rid of suffering, but an animal, you'll save an
right.
animal, but you won't save a person." So a lot of the things, they were so blown out of proportion, and they were so far removed. And the Ten Commandments, you're right, if you're doing the two, you're doing them all, because you're not going to go around forcing your will on others or condemning and hurting and you're just gonna be kind and have an open heart for one another. It's it's amazing. And you're right, he did talk in parables. And so, when you figure out those
Right.
amazing parables, it's like, oh, wow. With the
Yeah.
talents and just like the one we talked about earlier about, them working in the field all day but getting the same pay as the ones that came in the last hour. They agreed. So why would they be upset? So, the reward is the same for everyone. So, you know,
Yeah. That's why I like that. I like that verse in Matthew where he explains the parable. He went out and he told the people, he's teaching to the people, but then they went, privately aside back to their room or whatever, and the apostles asked him. He said, "Lord, what does this mean?" And then he explains it. He said, "The angels are the reapers. The harvest is the end of this world," and that's what he tells that story, but then he explains it, and you see the symbology of his language. That's why it takes a lot of studying to understand those key words. Like, I ask myself, would I have understood it? Do I understand his prophecies? No. Or his parables. I said I would have had to have him explain it.
right. Well,
And so,
Vonage says the Ten Commandments read as restrictions. Really, there is just one rule. And on another comment, he said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Yes, I agree with that. And if you are treating others with the same respect that you want, you are fulfilling. But you also need to there is this like hole that's within us, and what fills that hole is when you reach out, and it is filled when you reach out and you to the creator of this whole place, and the desire to reach out, why it fills that hole in your heart is because the love of the creator. He I It's not a he or a she thing. That being, that the creator, God of God Almighty, source, creator of all, loved us first. So when we come back like the prodigal, and we love and seek and search, the fill, that we feel within us, that void that we had is filled. It's just filled with love. And then you start to see all the wonderful, how wonderful others are, and, how important we are to each other, and how we are more interconnected. And none of us have walked a mile in each other's shoes. We don't know what kind of things we've been through in our life, what kind of things we're having to overcome, the sufferings, you know, things of that nature. So to try and judge somebody would be very difficult when, we don't have that kind of authority over somebody. We just don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I just learned today about your heart. I didn't know that. But now you've shared it, so now I'm well aware of it. And of course you're going to be in my prayers. And like I said, praying is talking, and meditating for me is listening. And yeah, I want your body to be whole and healthy, and I want you to be vibrant, because that's the person that I saw when we met in person. You're funny, you got a great sense of humor, and you're bursting with love. It's all around you. It was just there. So you can't hide from that truth, because you've exposed yourself. And I saw it, and you and I both witnessed sideways lightning. I mean, talk about a bubble of protection. I mean, there was a hedge of protection around us. Some amazing things transpired on
Yeah.
those 4 days.
See, and like, again, I always see that as like God putting protection around us. He protects those who follow him, those who listen to him, those he protects his people, not everybody. You have to choose to be one of his people. And the commandments, it comes down to two things, not just one. Again, like I said, love God and love your neighbor. There's two things. That's why I always see the Father and the Son. They represent two different things. They're
And when
not
he
the
said, love
same.
your enemy, okay, just with that, that's a parable. If you're loving your enemy, you have no enemy. Let me read this comment that Pre wrote. He said, trust God,
You
learn from all that rings true. Pray about it, practice what you sense is right and good. Keep learning and searching. God reveals things when we are ready. Many levels of truth. Be discerning. Symbolic meanings have levels. And he said, I wish I could be more specific. I generalize a lot. I think we understood that message. What do you think, Sagi and Go-Kart? You understood what Pre was expressing there?
say that
Oh yeah,
again.
for sure.
I didn't catch all that, Michelle.
Could you if you want you to repeat it, Michelle?
You want, you
Yeah,
want me to
it's
start from the beginning, Bob?
well. What was your comment there? Because my phone, I got a cheap phone and it breaks up.
Yeah, I noticed that with your sound. Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 comments that he wrote. Let me read them to you again. He said,
Okay.
okay, this is from Preliminal. Trust God. Learn from all that rings true. Pray about it. Practice what you sense is right and good. Keep learning and searching. God reveals things when we are ready. His second message is many levels of truth. Be discerning. His next message said symbolic meanings have levels. And then he said, I wish I could be more specific. I generalize a lot. Well said,
Right.
Pre. Well said.
Right. Yeah, because life's a journey. We're learning. We're all in a, I call it like first grade. If we're going to live forever, 100 years in this life is nothing. It's going to be a blink of an eye. It'll all be over, and then where will we be? And that's the whole thing. That's the whole premise of the Bible. And so,
Do you check out Armor's, what is it, Wednesday Word?
yeah,
Well,
I listen in a lot.
yeah, he's, he's had some pretty amazing teachers and up there speaking, and a lot of what they're talking about, it just really resonates, and it's losing the condemnation, and it's bringing in the fullness, the love, the compassion, the patience, all of the fruits that you will see in people that are carrying the spirit within them. That
Right?
Pre brought up discernment. Discernment is important. Test everything. Test who you're listening to. Test, even if it is in your
Yeah,
prayer closet and something is coming to talk to you. If it's asking you to do something and wants you to worship it, use discernment. I mean, pray about it, and make sure that is actually not a test, or something that is not of the true nature of the Creator.
yeah, but I still trust the Bible. Everything has to. I'm such a literalist. I have to, as long as it lines up with Bible, or you can back it up with Scripture, I accept it.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him? Sachi, I think we lost him. I think his phone might have died on him.
No, I was on mute. And I couldn't get to the button fast enough.
No, Bob, because his phone was getting crackly, and then I think that we lost him because his phone might have died on him. What an excellent
Oh,
conversation. We don't normally get into religions and people's belief structures because I don't want to impose on your right of seeking, finding, and growing and going on your journey, because it is a journey. It really is. It's a narrow path that we walk on. So, wherever you get your understanding, um, if it's bearing fruits of the Spirit, with patience and kindness and love and forbearance with one another, you know, then those are things that I look for, and when I'm talking to other people. Um, Not the gifts of the Spirit. I'm not too worried about if they're practicing or operating in the gifts. It's more the fruit and how they talk to you. How do they treat you, respectfully, or things like of that nature. But we started out talking about the new normal, and then went into Mandelas and the Bible. And I want to bring up one more before we zippity on out, and that is there's a verse that was added into the Bible that is, it does not resemble the Christ that I know, met, love, and it wasn't in the Bible when I was young either, and that is where Christ commands them to bring all those that would not worship Him and slay them before Him, whether it's in a parable or not. That statement was not in there. It was not. It's in Luke. I got my Bible next to me. I could have people look at the verse if they wanted to. But when that one showed up in the Bible, I was like, how far removed are they going to take it from his actual nature, from him? Let me see. That's Galatians. Let me see it in Luke. You can go ahead and talk, Sagi, while I look for this real quick.
all right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're perfect.
All right. Just a moment here. While you do that, I'm going to give the room another shout out, okay?
That's great. Okay, hold on.
All right, going back up to the top here.
I found it.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Okay, it's Luke 19, verse 27. But those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. Now, them is in italics, meaning that it could be an added word. But, I've got this circled, and I wrote next to it, wrong, because, I was watching my Bible. Basically, the words were changing right in front of my eyes. It was like, what in the heck is going on here? And then this verse showed up, and I was like, what? What? When, the only time he got upset or showed any kind of anger was when they were selling things for sacrifice and, all of this nonsense. Otherwise, he was feeding people, caring for people. He was turning people away that were only there for food, or, that weren't there to actually hear and grow from the message he was sharing. I mean, he was one person and he had a mountain of work ahead of him when he came in. So, but as for saying things like this, no, it wasn't even in a parable. It just wasn't. So, yeah, that again is Luke 19 verse 27. In my KJV, I've had this one forever. Let me see when this was dedicated to me. 2003. So I've had this Bible since 2003, and this was not in there. And mind you, it's in red letters. So they're saying it came out of Christ's mouth. And okay. All right, go ahead and give them a nice shout out, please.
Well, Armor Up was here. I think he just left. He said he had to run. It was really nice to see him in the participating. We have Michael Healy, Integral, Awake and Activate, Inglorious Me, Voynich, and our Universal Consciousness, Janice Ames,
JJ.
Preliminal, Go-Kart Bob obviously was here. He was our caller in case you just came in and didn't know that. And I think that's it.
Let's see what we got. What's this? A Glorious Me? Disintegral, Michael Haley. Yeah. Well, I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to look at participants. Armor Up, like an activate, Go-Kart Bob, Janice Ames, Preliminal, and Sagittarically Speaking. But that only gives like the participants for like the last few minutes. So, you know, it's the cheater's way. You know, that's why most people, when they say we're going to do a shout out, they're like, if you want your name shouted out, put it in the chat now. Say something. So you'll show up on the participant list.
Right.
Do you have anything that you want to share about what we talked about, or any final thoughts before we let these good folks go?
Not really. I mean, we had a great show. And thank you for bringing me on. It was my pleasure to be here. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed following our chat. I'm really thankful to Armor for taking the time to be here. And I thought we had some really interesting subjects to talk about. And I think we made some progress. I think we had a great show. Thank you.
Well,
and thanks to everybody in chat, and thanks to Go-Kart Bob for calling. It was such a great call.
yeah, thank you, Sagi. You know, this is a lot of fun, and we're going to try, you know, be as consistent as possible, so people know to look on Wednesday to come and call in and share what's going on. And we started with, we touched on so many topics today, and Go-Kart Bob was very alert and aware and had something to share on each of them, from the virus, his environment, Mandela effect, changes, the trip that we went on, where we met each other in person, the biblical understanding that he has at this time, and you know, his faith, and just, you know, I really feel that I got closer to him. I know him better, and that is a huge part of why, you know, we want people to call in, so because we're one family, and the more we get to know each other, the better and better things will be between all of us, and our respect for each other will grow. And I just want to thank you guys all, and thank you, Sagi, for coming, and thank you all in the chat very much. We'll talk to you guys soon.